awning on the back of the house. Yeah, we're cool with that. That's
All right, we'll get started. Welcome everyone to the February 12th, 2026 BAR small meeting. My name is Lindsay Van Sandbrook. I'll be your chairwoman this evening. Fellow board members present today are Daryl Cobb, Becky Finno, Bill Turner, and Fillmore Wilson. The staff present today are Frankie Pinto, BARS Administrator, and Travis Scally, Senior Preservation Planner. The order of tonight's meeting will be as follows. So for each application, we'll hear an introduction overview from city staff for the benefit of the board and the public. Then we'll have the applicant's presentation. The applicant will have a 10-minute period of time to present their project. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last for the record, and anyone speaking on behalf of the applicants, this would be owners, designers, consultants, should speak during the applicant presentation period versus during public comment. By ordinance, the board can ask questions of the applicant at any time, but by custom, we do so on the heels of the applicant's presentation. This will be followed by public comment. Any written public comment that was timely submitted to the city has been provided to the board in advance for review. If you are speaking as a member of the public, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. Approach the podium, state your name first and last for the record, and your address if you're a neighbor nearby. Public comment will be followed by city staff comments and recommendations. And once we've heard from the public and the city, the applicant will have a 5-minute period of time to clarify or respond to anything raised during the public comment or during the city staff comments and recommendations. Once the applicant response period closes, we'll move into board discussion and a vote on each application, and results will be posted online at the city's website. The following items have been withdrawn or deferred. Agenda item 15, 331 King Street. Please turn off your cell phones, and please remember that the purview of this board is architecture only. So anything related to livability, zoning, stormwater is not within the purview of this board and should not be voiced here. All right, on to the agenda. Agenda item A1 is review of the minutes from the January 22nd, 2026 meeting. I make a motion to approve with the edits that I circulated to the board this afternoon. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Becky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion passed unanimously. Agenda item B1 is 178 Souci Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Yes, ma'am. 178 Souci is in Wagner Terrace, Council District 6. It has a category 4 in the architecture inventory circa 1935 in the historic material demolition district. Opt-in review. They are requesting opt-in for demolition of existing exterior elements visible from public right of way and conceptual approval for proposed addition. The property location on Souci Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
I'm Ashley Jennings. I'm an architect. I am not the architect of record on this project, but I'm representing Cindy and Mike Whitby tonight and their architect from uptown. You've seen this project before. There's been a couple of appearances at the BR, and both have received conceptual review with limitations to achieve what our clients would like to achieve, which is to do an addition on the back with a screen porch. And so tonight, what we decided to do was to opt in. And the reason we decided to opt in was because that we thought describing the addition might help with the understanding of the demolition request. So I'm going to walk through this, but once again, as I said, I did not generate these drawings. So I might look to Cindy and Mike if I have a question. I think that to go back a little bit and talk about just some Sanborn maps are in this page. See them, but I'll go back to this plan. The original structure is this right here. That was the original cottage. And I think that in all of the previous reviews, some of the things that were really important to the board were maintaining the establishment of that original structure. And so what you're going to see tonight is some modifications to what was proposed for demolition in order to maintain some sort of semblance that you can see the original cottage structure. The request is to remove the shed roof on the back of the house and to create a new roof structure here with a gable here and then a shed roof that ties into it that goes over the screen porch element. And we'll see later on how this is differentiated, and then a portion of this little eave is retained so that it turns the corner there. Here you can see the existing and proposed. Some of the things that have been previously approved for demolition are not shown here tonight. There was a little stoop on the side, which was previously approved for demolition. And here are the existing and proposed elevations. This one's the south elevation that faces Souci. You can see the intent is to maintain, there's a chimney that's missing right now that is going to be rebuilt, but the intent is to maintain the presence on the front. On the east side of the building, the intent is to maintain the presence of the face of the structure that faces the east, with a small shed addition on the back for a screen porch. And then on the rear, as you can see, here's the existing rear elevation, and the intent here is to leave the framing, the wall framing here intact, to create a gable roof, and then to provide this small screen porch tucked back a little bit, and then maintain that turn on the eave as well. And then you can see on the west side, the dash line indicates where the siding is to be removed here. This is the original structure on this side of the dash line. The siding is to be removed here, a new siding and a new roof system there, so that you see the differentiation between the existing structure and the proposed addition. Just some photos for reference to see what the structure looks like right now. Here's the sample maps. You can see in the 1944 and the 1951, the little structure that's there. And I'll go back and just go through some of the materials proposed. Because there's going to be some modifications to the roof, they would like to put on a new asphalt shingle roof, so that it's all tied in together. There's a proposal for a new board and batten siding on the rear of the project. Because this is a category 4 structure in the group 2, they'd like to replace the windows with insulated glass, simulated divided light windows. And we can work with Frankie on the approved window. And they started to look at that a little bit. And I think that's about it. And I think I just mentioned that the chimney that's missing will be rebuilt. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a small one. Back to the windows. I noticed that on the drawings, they look like they're picture framed. Is that just a drafting error, or because I know the ones on the main portion of the house have a sill?
It's a drafting error.
Okay.
Because they do have a sill.
Okay. And on the addition, they would also be a sill as well. Okay.
And so the windows are not part of the demo request. That's just a repair, replace with staff.
Windows for demo. That's a question for Frankie. I don't understand this process very well.
Staff can review them. Staff would be able to review them as repairs after they opt in.
But if they want to come back with like a simulated divided light, it sounds like that's what they want.
Yes,
It's not repair and replace.
Which the North of Line policy allows for them to do simulated divided
That's one of the
in the
approved.
group 2. Yes.
Okay. So they could work with staff. I just want to make sure that we are hearing everything or appropriately guiding you. You need to come back. So it sounds like the windows.
Yes, we can work with them on.
Okay. So we're not looking to do much there. All right. Any other questions? Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking from the public? All right, Frankie, if you'll give us any staff comments and recommendations.
Staff just have observations. Code is subordinate to the existing structure and it follows the standard staff conditions for approval. And I will add that the applicant has met with us to coordinate the opt-in review process and the owner has signed the applicant affidavit. The staff recommendation is approval of demolition and conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Ashley, did you want to respond to or clarify anything? All right, public comment in the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
I think what's proposed is compatible with the existing structure. It's not compromising or overshadowing the form of the original structure itself. The rear ridge is being kept below the front existing ridge of the building. So I think it's going in the right direction.
The only thing that gives me pause is the old thumbnail siding on the west side, what they're calling the left side. It's the only, like, I agree with you. I think it looks good and the addition is compatible. It's just that original material right there is my question mark.
Was that not approved?
We approved that.
Did we
Yeah,
approve
that was approved in a previous review.
the removal? No.
On that rear addition, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
So I don't think that's.
so yeah,
What
I
we
don't
were
think
down
that's
to is I think the ridges. I think that's the ridges and.
Yeah.
it was really the roof, extent of the
Yeah,
roof.
that was,
Okay.
the removal of that, just on that little.
On the little addition.
Not on the
Okay,
main
yeah.
house, just.
Then
on the
I-
addition
yeah,
was
no.
approved, but the use would be. I think that's where the changes came in.
So I agree, being able to see the proposal is,
Very helpful.
is very helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
Do we have some consensus on a motion?
I'll make a motion, conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
And you had approval of demolition in there.
You would need to make it a joint of approval of demolition and the concept.
Okay.
I got
Got
it.
it. Okay.
All right, so you have a motion on the floor for approval of demolition and conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. Do you have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll say.
The motion to a vote. Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky,
yay, in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor?
Fillmore.
Yeah, in favor.
The chair votes to the majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Agenda item 261 Maple Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
'61 Maple Street is in North Central, which is Council District 4. It is a Category 4, Group 1 in the Architecture Inventory, circa 1925 in the Historic Materials Demolition District, requesting after the fact approval for partial demolition of exterior elements visible from public right of way. This is property dedication.
Yeah, I'm Rob Johnson. I'm the contractor on 61 Maple Street. And we did remove the front handrail, intending to put it back exactly as it was. It was rotten and falling apart. So at this time, it is gone. We had approval to replace the front door, but we replaced it with a double front door. And I've got a picture. I'm not sure how this works, but I've got a picture of the new front door that is the reason I think for this meeting really there. And due to the width of the steps, let's see. Yeah, the steps are 11 feet wide. And so we're requesting to leave that door in there if, I know we did not get permission for that to begin with, but did not realize that we really needed to until it all came up. So anyway, that's our request, is to be able to use that double door and to replace the handrail as it was.
Is that it? Is that all we're looking at, is the handrail and
The double door.
the double door? Okay, not windows or anything.
No, we already did $28,000 worth of windows that were approved.
All right, any questions for the applicant?
Just on the windows, I noticed on that photo, if you enlarge it, it looks like the sills have been modified, the existing sills.
The exterior sills.
And it looks like the side trim no longer comes down and rests on a sill.
Yeah, I think sills are, I can't say for sure. I'll have to go back and look, but I don't believe they're any different than they were. I'm not positive about that. I don't want to tell you that they aren't.
Maybe that's something you can look into.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking to the public?
Laurel Bay with Preservation Society Charleston. These application materials are incomplete and make it difficult to determine what changes have been made with staff approval and what changes are being reviewed tonight for after the fact approval. Based on the materials provided, it is evident that the original door opening has been enlarged and multiple character defining features have been removed, including the rafter tails and the bracket in the center of the gable. These features are characteristic of this craftsman-style American four-square home, which is emblematic of the distinctive character of the North Central neighborhood. We ask the board to deny this after-the-fact request and require that these character-defining details be restored to their previous appearance. Thank you.
Inc. Utility Historic Charleston Foundation, HCF does not support after the fact approval. The scope of the alterations that have been completed on the 1925 structure are unclear. We believe additional information is needed and recommend denial.
Is there anyone else speaking from the public? Okay, Frankie, if you give us any staff comments and recommendations.
I've had some observations, it's after the fact request for changing the single front door into double doors. And the board has previously denied these when they are requested. Staff condition, if the board were to, that should just be a staff condition. Submit permit to return to original configuration within 30 business days if we're denying the after the fact request. Staff recommendation is a denial of the after the fact request with that staff condition.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Johnson, do you want to respond to or clarify anything, Greg?
I don't think so. Thank you.
All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and vote.
I'm just a little confused. I was trying to go over this. Clearly the front door is before us. If the handrail is a repair or replace in kind, it would be at staff.
Yes.
Okay. And the windows are previously approved.
That's correct.
Windows were previously approved, is my understanding, and I believe it sounds like they're trying to change the handrail from the original configuration.
Is that the original? I'm just looking.
The original handrails are just 2x4 top and bottom rail and 2x2 pickets.
Do we think that's original?
No, not to the house.
The part coming down. No.
I was wondering about,
No. I'm just trying to figure out.
how about the brackets?
Yeah, I have a problem with how many changes have apparently been made.
And the,
I mean, this is,
and the siding, I think the siding we changed.
It was approved.
It was, the siding changes has previously approved.
I'm not aware of that myself. I didn't confirm the siding. I know there were some changes approved to match.
I almost want to defer this to figure out
On
what
there,
all we're
asbestos
looking at.
shingles And what's on there now is wood lap.
I don't
The
think we can
roof
say
rafters is
put
really
X back, because we
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
There's a lot more here than just
Yeah.
a door. You know, the rafter tails have been boxed in and they're now boxed eaves. The outriggers up in the gable, those brackets, one of them's going out of the center. You know, the door's been blown out, made two doors. The window detail, I'm looking at this picture, is horrible. That window detail, I think, is also a demolition as well, because I'm not seeing the original sill there. I think that's a factory sill that came with those replacement windows. And the side trim doesn't even rest on top of the sill. So that's a nasty little detail there that needs to be corrected as well. So I agree, this needs to be deferred until we get some proper drawings and know exactly what's being requested.
Yeah. I would support that. I don't think we can make a decision because it's not clear what all is
I agree.
after the fact. Bill, did you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for deferral.
Bill, do I have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
The motion to vote, Daryl,
Yay in favor.
Becky,
Yay in favor.
Bill,
Yay, in favor.
Fillmore,
Yeah, in favor.
you're the majority and the motion passes unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda, item-
You said those comments will be posted where?
On the city website.
Okay. Thank you all.
agenda item 3, 7 Payne Court. Frankie, if you give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Just a girl for more information.
Out.
That was just a girl for more information.
Yes.
Just want to make sure I wrote as usual. Yeah. You can refer to me later. The more questions I ask, the less you correct me. All right, next we have 7 Payne Court. It's in Canterbury, Elliott Borough, and also District 4. The category 4 in the architecture inventory, circa 1852 in the Old City District, requesting conceptual approval for a new addition. This is the property's location on 7 Payne Court. I will turn it over to the applicant.
Yeah, hi, my name is Art Sills of Cozy Studios. This is our second round with this. We came in with an earlier version of it. So I'll go quickly through the historic information. I'd like this to change. So it first shows up in the 1884 map here. It was built in with a collection. I do have the laser here. Built with a collection of other buildings that were, as far as we know, were fairly similar to it, and it persists through into the early 1900s, and then into 1944, it still exists with the collection of other houses that are around it. Then sometime between 1957 and 1973, it seems that some of the other buildings have burned down. And so it's one of, I think only, might be the only one, or there might be one other that still remains. It is down this 7 Payne Court, which is comes up here, which is a fairly narrow drive, which is not itself a public right of way, but it is visible from the adjacent streets. And so here you have the north, which is visible off of Annan, I think it is. You see the west side. It's hard to see the west side of the elevation from the public right of way, but if you see it from an angle here, this is the south elevation from behind these other buildings here, and the east elevation, you have to look through someone else's property and kind of get over to it. It's very hard to see. That being said, backwards. Sorry, I said Cannon. It's Spring Street. It is visible off of Spring Street from the north. I will say that these images are a little bit confusing, but going to the. Am I doing this wrong?
You pointed at Travis.
Pointed over there.
No, pointed, yeah, that way.
Okay, there you go. And these are just sort of, I think I've never used one of these before. I apologize. I flipped through the whole presentation. Here's the existing site plan, meets and bounds, building on the parcel. Once again, the existing site plan here, showing the existing building with the front piazza. I'll talk a little bit about the condition of that piazza in a little bit. Here was our previous submission. The new submission is quite similar. One of the only differences you're going to see on the ground floor, we've changed this setback a little bit. We've modified this so it reads on the elevation a little bit more. I'll get to that. And we have provided a little bit of relief here. This is such a narrow site and such a narrow building. We would have set it back further, but it's really hard and it just constricts any access up onto the second floor. So in the ground floor plans, again, I've kind of already gone through this. We're doing most of the demolition, and what we are proposing to do is reestablish that piazza back to an earlier, more traditional version of it. On the second floor, adding the addition, we're proposing a hyphen in between the existing building over the top of this, which would read on both sides, and then the addition for the bedrooms down in the south end. With the roofs, this will be easier to see in the elevation that we've lowered the roof eaves and ridges to read separate from the existing building. I'm actually going to go to the west elevation because this is sort of the more important elevation. The existing elevation as it is right now, or previous proposed elevation, and the part of the commentary that came back was maybe the architecture wasn't in keeping, the windows were a little bit too busy, and it wasn't subordinate enough to the existing building. Because these floor to floor heights are so small and the roof height is so small, we were able to take this hyphen down. This is about 1'9". So it draws a clear distinction between the existing building connecting over to the new addition. The new addition also has a lower ridge line, but it's not quite as low as that hyphen. And we did simplify the fenestration as well. We think it breaks down the massing a little bit. It reads nicely and it simplifies a little bit. So to us, it seems like an improvement. Since I skipped through the other thing, on the east elevation, this elevation is very hard to see. There is a portion of it that you could see through the trees there. One of the things that we were asked to do is reestablish this existing building line here. So you see in the previous elevation, we had just made it flat. We've set this back a little bit. It reads the existing volume. And allows this hyphen piece to read out a little separate from that. And then on the north and the south elevation, we're really not doing a lot to the north elevation except rehabbing and reestablishing this entryway onto the piazza, this entry door onto the piazza. On the south elevation, one thing we did is broke this down into a central gable piece with a little bit of a piece up front. So it reads, it's a little more breakdown of the volume. And we think it reads really nicely and makes the building kind of appear more compact. One thing I should mention on this elevation, the existing piazza has been screened in. These are 2x4s, I think. The existing piazza is gone, in terms of the detail underneath the roof. We are proposing to reestablish earlier version. We had a simpler picket railing. We're going back with the turned balustrade and to reestablish sort of that traditional detail. Onto the building. So all in all, we think it actually is an improvement, based on your comments from our last meeting. We think it breaks down the volume really well and that it works pretty nicely.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Your second floor volume that's going on top of the first floor rear volume, how far in are those set on each side?
So it is a small setback on the second floor. So we're reading on the second floor, this volume here, this back wall is flush underneath, sort of the L shape.
Right.
And then that roof edge reads through. We are setting back a little bit on the second floor. I think it's 2 inches. It's not over here, but these things are so narrow by the time we get the stair up and we're trying to get through here that we thought we could set it back more, but given sort of the nature of this elevation, we thought we could do that. Now on the front side, we've set it back 6 inches. And so that gives, and set the roof down. So those two moves together really clarify in our mind how that hyphen reads on the elevation. So you can see the roof line coming through here, the existing roof line.
And you said
This
that's
is an
6 inches.
existing line that comes across already anyway.
And you said on that side, the second floor volume is 6 inches back from the.
Yeah, this setback here is 6 inches.
Is there a reason why you don't match the two sides or?
We wanted to have it read more starkly on this side. Stark isn't quite the right word, but we wanted to be emphasized a little bit more on this side. The other, but it's so narrow that we biased it on the more visible side so that it would read more.
And you don't think you'll have an issue with flashing that? It's gonna be a tricky detail.
Yeah, I mean, everything's tricky, we gotta let in some, probably some copper flashing up underneath, step flashing down through here. These edges are probably not that big a deal, but this coming down, drained out, it is all positive drainage.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have any conditions where we have like a negative. There's a little gap, I guess, behind here that we would have to fill, but,
Any other questions? Do we have anyone speaking? All right, Frankie, do we have a city staff comments and recommendations? please?
Staff just had the observation that the previous staff comments have been addressed, that we are recommending conceptual approval with preliminary final review by staff. Permit draw.
Thank you. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the staff comments? All right. Public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and vote.
I mean, I wasn't here for the previous presentation, so I'm kind of playing catch up a little bit. I think that, obviously, this is a big improvement over what was presented the last time, I believe. I think the stepping in of that second floor, although it's gonna be kind of a difficult detail, it's a creative way of still expressing that rear shed form, which according to the sandbar maps appears to be original from the very get-go.
Bill, for your benefit,
Yeah.
my big takeaway about the board's comments from the last time we saw this was that this is a small house and the original design just sort of the original configuration of the house got lost
Yeah.
in the addition.
Yeah.
And so the ask was to somehow retain that and reduce the addition. So
I think, the roof lines have improved. The window composition, that's all improved. One small thing is apply some consistency in the use of the window shutters. And I think you've only got them on 3 windows. Maybe you just ditch them all together. It's just kind of odd just to put shutters on 3 side windows and nowhere else on the house.
Am I allowed to comment on that, or?
did you have a question?
Yeah. Is there a reason for that?
So the shutters on the existing building are not fully symmetrical, so there's 2, 1, and 2. And our proposal was just to leave those, but then not to put shutters on any of the new windows.
So are those shutters existing? Or-
I think they're visible in the photographs currently existing now.
Okay. Okay, and one other small thing is the balusters. I would go with something simpler, just a simple square baluster, because a building this small and this simple, it's a very humble building, probably never would have had turned balusters on it. So I would simplify the balusters.
Do you all have anything to add?
No, seems this submittal is better than the last submittal. It's still a big addition to a little building.
Yeah. I did notice one other thing, and it seems to be kind of the windowsill meeting. The windowsills are shown with a skirt board below them. And, a house of this designer period would have never had that detail. So I would eliminate the skirt board below the windowsill and just you keep with the chunky windowsill that you would normally see on these buildings.
So I heard Daryl's comment, but is this something, or do we have a consensus that we want to give this conceptual approval? Is it there?
I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's a big improvement from the last plan.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to these guys since they were here for the original presentation.
Daryl, what do you think?
I'm struggling with it because it's a big addition for a little building, and the mass and length on the second floor is longer than the mass of the main mass of the house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I struggle with that. The more I study it, the architect has obviously done as much as he can to break up the mass of such a non-wide building. So it is better, but the question is, does the main mass get lost with the addition? Do you have an opinion on that, Becky?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. It's, if we're looking at height, scale and mass, is that maybe that's just too much for, you know, you're right. It's doubling the size of the building. That's what it appears to be. I don't know if it's just that the second story mass is so
It's not as,
overwhelming.
it's not as, it doesn't double it on the first floor, it doubles it on the second floor.
Right.
And that's what's throwing me off. But Bill, do you not, if you're not struggling with it?
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and it's such a small building, and that's what's hurting it. Is
That's
that
right.
To get enough usable space, it's with the addition, it's still not a big building, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's kind of penalized just because it was built to such a tiny little building. But I 100% see where you're coming from.
Yes, so it looks like the original footprint was roughly 32 foot long, and then they're adding 15'7", which doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds, it throws it off for me on the second floor.
Yeah. Do you think if they, I mean, this would be a very small thing, but something small like just a very narrow siding profile on the addition would make the two differentiate?
I think that would help. I mean,
I see what you're saying. It's really the second story coming
Yeah.
that far out. Is really throwing the balance of the building out. Oh,
if you know, and
we don't typically.
I mean, and I wouldn't, they're between a rock and a hard place, because if the connection piece at the second floor was much less, I don't think I would have a struggle with it, because there'd be this little connection to the new mass. But the fact that it's just 2 stories and goes over with a little different, you know, it's just offset a little. I guess that's my struggle.
It's basically taking the shed, I'm not gonna call it an addition because I don't think it was ever an addition. That 1-story portion and going straight up and using that as the hyphen. So yeah, he's there. That makes sense to me. I mean, because I don't think you would want to cut in on top of that existing
Right.
form on the back.
Oh, you mean push in that
Yeah.
existing?
Yeah, I don't think you would want to try to, I think what you're getting at is the length of what I'm calling the hyphen is kind of throwing it off.
That's right. It would be the length and the height of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it were, but I understand why they need it too.
Yeah.
Because it's such a little building, that there's no other way to connect it without it, right?
Let me ask a question. Are you at your very bare minimum on the height within that hyphen where you drop the roof? Can it be dropped anymore?
Submitted back in December. I haven't been thinking about it a lot since we're very close.
Okay.
Yeah, we could certainly look at trying to see if we could maybe take another 6 inches or so off type of thing, but it's not like we have,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, we're getting into the, how much of the floor area
Yeah.
can we get down below 7.6?
Because your windows are probably set at what, 6'8" on the second floor, give or take?
The window heads?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
So if that's the case, it looks like he has, you know, a couple of feet above that
Mhm.
to look at that. Then maybe I need to look at how far this is off the street. Is it less?
It's a small lot, I know that.
It's a small lot. So how visible is it?
Thought, this is right on the street, isn't this?
It's right at Payne Court, which is not right of way in Spring Street. It's 100 feet or 50 feet, I'm not sure. But maybe it's not a couple.
So that second floor in that
Yeah.
area we're talking about is, you have a stairway that's coming up in there, and there's more or less just sort of a kind of hallway space, a large hallway space.
Yeah, that's where the stairs come up and turn.
Yeah.
Is this something you all want to see back, or if it's far enough along that some more comments would cover it, just?
This is the only detail I'm hung up on, is that connection at the second floor. I think if that were, you know, I think it's a vast improvement over the first submittal.
Basically, if the hyphen was more narrow and lower.
Are you, anybody in agreement with me? Because I'm just
Yeah.
one vote.
I think if that hyphen could come down.
Yes.
100% agree that if it could come down, it should come down some.
Well, I think that would differentiate
Yeah, I think so
the
too.
new addition from the front addition, and I personally wouldn't be caught up in the size of the mass.
Right.
So you want me to make a motion to restudy the connection at the second floor?
Is it deferral,
Okay.
or is it a
Can they
conceptual
do that with
approval when
staff?
you want staff to review it?
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm trying to figure out.
understood.
Is it a comment you could make that staff could take a look at it and they could send it back? Could we get a conceptual approval with that comment?
What do you think,
Or-
Bill?
I just wish that
You were here.
we knew if that could come down. If we knew that could come down a measurable amount, then I would feel very comfortable handing it off to staff.
Well, if
I
it
think it should
couldn't,
be
it would
more
come
narrow
back
and
to
come
us, right?
Or
I think it should be a little more narrow and come down, and that's the direction.
so that farther, so the second floor would set farther in on top of the 1 story below, correct?
That doesn't bother me as much as if it could just come down and the material changes you proposed. Then I don't see this mass on the second floor as overwhelming.
It's more distinct.
Yes, I agree.
So, what you said was if it could come down, then staff could look at it, right? And he
I
could,
think that we could give conceptual approval to staff with a board condition that the hyphen be reduced by, I don't know. The hyphen be reduced, and then if staff ultimately finds out that, oh wait, it can't be, I think it's gotta come back to the board. But this would at least, if it, unless you think that you wanna see it
no,
back.
I think that's fair. That would allow you to keep moving and study it.
Yeah, we might be able to get like a foot.
That would make a big difference.
That'd make a big difference.
We may not make it a full.
Yeah.
foot. It's just, I have to double check where the plates are. and stuff.
Okay, let me
But we probably.
say what I think your motion is. Is it, sorry. Conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff with the board condition that the height of the hyphen be reduced.
By
Do you want to say an amount?
by 10 to 12 inches.
That would be the max that I
What
think
is the
we could
minimum
get.
that you, I think, because if we put the maximum and they can't do that, I think we see it back. And if there, it could only be 10 inches.
So 8 inches, is that?
I think we could be.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion on
I
the
mean,
floor
there's
for
always a-
conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff with a board condition that
Did
the
you
height
wanna
of
do
the
a
hyphen be
material
reduced by 8
change?
inches. Wait, were there any other?
But they, I guess, I don't know what
Did
that
you want
is.
to do any type of material change?
Yeah.
Font change?
There has to be.
Yeah, and
If
Bill-
there isn't,
brought up a material change there, which I think would,
Yeah. I mean, even if it was just you still stick with the lap siding, but it becomes a much narrower.
Okay,
profile.
so then, in a narrower profile of siding on the addition.
Yeah.
All right, so now I have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff with 2 board conditions. The height of the hyphen be reduced by 8 inches, and also that the siding on the addition should have a narrower profile. Do I have a second to Daryl's motion?
a second.
Yeah. To a vote, Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl,
yeah, in favor.
Becky,
Yay in favor.
the chair votes the majority and the motion passed unanimously. Thank you all. Well, agenda item 4 is 130 Romney Street. Frank, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
It is the category recent year inventory circa 1935 in the historic quarter. They're requesting a conceptual approval for a second story rear addition with window replacement and first. And
Hannah Lynch, owner of the property, and my wife bought the place year and a half ago. And it's been a rental unit for a long time, and it's a little bit compartmentalized inside, which is why we want to expand the second floor to meet the layout of the first floor footprint, to move the master bedroom upstairs and enlarge the living room downstairs. Some historic aerials from 1967, Sandmore maps. Couldn't find actually any close-up Sanborns of 130 Romney, just the general overviews, and even this is east of, I believe that's meeting. This is the picture of the existing home. This is the backyard, so we would be removing that lower roof, removing that, demoing all of this part of the wall and expanding it out to meet the footprint of the first floor. And on the application, it says that we're asking for approval on new windows and hardscape as well. There's landscape and hardscape plans. This is the first floor demolition and new construction. Second floor, you can see the demolition plan and the new expansion in the back. Shows the elevations, replacement of the windows. Roof plan and then structural plans. And this is the landscape and hardscape plan as well. Kind of just upgrading the hardscape, adding a gravel driveway for the parking spot, upgrading some of the plants and shrubs in the front and throughout the back, little dining area in the back, grass area, and a shed with a pergola. Some lighting. I'm not going to do that fence, so I can remove that fence from the details. I think that's it.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking to the public?
Peak Utility Historic Charleston Foundation has submitted HCF to support the proposal with additional elevations and information. While we are not opposed to the addition, we would like to better understand overall mapping. Thank you.
Laurel Fay with the Preservation Society of Charleston. The lack of elevation drawings in the image overview that was publicly available made it difficult for us to evaluate this proposal. So this addition should be restudied to be more in keeping with the traditional development patterns of Charleston, where additions are traditionally subordinate in height and mass and have a differentiated material palette. We ask the board to defer this application for restudy. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking? Frankie, if you give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
Right, so staff had some observations. We were also a little confused with drawings and there's some material, missing details and the materials are not shown. The chimney is also missing from the elevation, so we wanted to make sure that wasn't part of the request. Staff conditions, all existing windows and doors should remain in place. Addition should be subordinate to the existing house, such as the new roof be lower than the existing ridge and tuck under the eave of the existing roof. If you are not doing that fence, I can strike this, but for our policy on hardscaping, metal fences are coupled steel or wrought iron. We don't typically approve aluminum fences. And drawings need to be clearly drawn and labeled per submittal requirements. Staff recommendation is a deferral for restudy with any board and staff comments.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Lynch, do you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public comment or the staff comments and recommendations?
I think my only question would be about windows. When you say they should remain in place, does that mean I cannot replace the windows at all because they are not functional?
You can repair them, or Frankie, in this area.
We can work with them to replace individual windows that need to be replaced. What we're talking about, when I say windows remain in place, we mean the location stay the same, like not move. So if that's the original place of the window on the wall, staff always recommends that it stays in the original placement. But they'll talk about whether or not they like my comment.
Are you asking to actually replace the windows? So not move locations, but replace all the windows on the house?
Well, not move all windows around. Some of the new walls inside will land up where a window is, so we would move, infill that, add 2 windows on either side of the wall. And then I was under the impression that there were some pre-approved windows in this category. I saw one being the Pella Reserve traditional. So I was gonna.
I think you can work with staff if it's not moving locations. I think you can work with staff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and vote.
I mean, start out and just meet some of the requirements.
We
I
need
would-
the
I would-
elevations to see.
I would defer
It wasn't-
to meet some of the requirements.
Yeah, it's the drawings are very, very basic. There's no fenestration being shown. The windows are just showing window openings, but no type of light cut or trim or anything such as that. So it,
They're
And in the public record, the elevations were not on there.
yeah.
So that's what the agent, Preservation Society and HCF are commenting on.
So with me, it's that, the incomplete drawings, and then also the need to differentiate the addition from the original house are the two major things. As far as the site plan goes, I think the site plan is pretty well done. And I think the little garden shed in the back is pretty well done. So I wouldn't mind letting them proceed with those approvals if we could split the approval.
See what we do.
What do you guys think? Do you have any comments on the site or?
I mean,
or-
it seems like there were elevations included for the garden shed
there were
in the
elevations?
public. So in the public packet, yeah.
Or,
Yeah, there's some minimal drawings in this middle, I think, for the garden shed. And I don't have any opposition to the architect of the garden shed, but there are no elevations that show the relationship of any of this really.
Yeah.
And the submittal, and I think it needs to meet submittal requirements. And if the garden shed's in that, the garden shed needs to be shown in some form and
In
even in a
relation,
limited form in the elevations, because we need to understand the relationships. Yeah.
so yeah, maybe.
I would rather see it all
Keep
back.
it all grouped together.
Yeah, I would rather see it all back.
We have some consensus on a motion.
I think it's just a deferral.
All right, I'm willing to offer the applicant some comments on improvement of design if you want it subordinated.
Yes, yeah,
and differentiate.
yeah, differentiated, subordinated for the addition. And provide drawings that actually show the fenestration, both existing and proposed.
I would encourage them to talk to staff about what that typically looks like.
I'm not sure who did the drawings. To me, they kind of look like maybe an engineer. You might want to look for an architect.
So were you okay with the deferral from resending with board and staff comments? Okay, do you have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Becky,
Yeah, in favor.
Donald,
In favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
chair votes the majority and the motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 5, 15 Beaton's Alley. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Uh, 15 Beatty's Alley is in Charlestown, Council District 8. It is in, not surveyed, new construction in the old historic district. Requesting a conceptual approval for rear addition. This is the property's location on Beatty's Alley, and I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening, Sebastian Marshall. I am the architect working on behalf of the owner, David Simmons. David is here this evening. The board, we are at 39 Broad Street, Suite 100. The board previously saw this application back in 2022 and approved it. And the building is now under construction. And this is a first for me, but we are requesting an addition to a building that is underway. A quick background on that. So this is a recent survey that was done of the property when construction began. And the previous site plan and survey, we realized when this was done had been incorrect. The plot was deeper and wider than we had originally known. And as a result, the owner recognized that we gained about 10 feet of additional space on the back of the property. So this then led to a conversation about exploring the potential for an addition. This addition, everything that we're about to talk about was reviewed and approved by the BZA at the January 20 BZA meeting. So we'll look at those setbacks here in a second, but it has received BZA approval. Again, some of these slides, this board will have seen and remember too, some historic maps that show the approximate area. You can see here, Beaton's Alley, here's East Bay, here's Elliott, Beaton's Alley, and interestingly, that open lot is kind of right where we are. Some old Sanborn maps. I don't spend too much time on this. An old house that was on the structure that was since removed, a new house that was approved, never built, then the empty lot was sold to the current owner. It had many lives. And then some existing context of the immediately adjacent buildings. Streetscape. And then some precedent images. Some more precedent images. And then the current site. So you can see, in fact, the masonry is now topped out. So the shell of the existing previously approved structure is more or less masked. And what we were requesting is to add onto the back of the house right here. This is looking from Elliott Street across the parking lot south towards the rear of the addition on Beaton's Alley. You can see the original site plan, and here you can see the 3-foot setback that we were building to. And then here you can see the proposed, and you can see that the setback is, we're adding about 8 foot 3 inches from the back of the house to that new to that 3-foot setback line. So in a sense, what we're proposing is actually a reduction in what would have been on that 3-foot line, because we're actually stepping our addition in from those corners. So the actual mass of the building on the 3-foot rear setback is smaller than it would have previously been. Understanding, of course, that it is an extension of what we previously approved. You can see the previously approved first floor plan and the proposed first floor plan with that addition. Previously approved second, proposed second. Previously approved third, proposed third with the roof of that 2-story addition at the back, and then the roof plan, same. Previously approved front, no change to the front elevation. And this is really where you notice the big difference. You can see that 8-foot addition that's basically telescoping out of the previously approved kitchen house that was set was at the back of the property. We're using the same length because it's a modern house. We actually feel that's appropriate just to continue the same articulation. So we have the same 2/2 windows that you can see here, same materials, same masonry headers and cells. The rear elevation, again, it shrinks just a hair because it steps in and the roof steps down as a result. Pitch stays the same. We're actually adding windows on that side. We're still on the 25% limit for fire code. And then on the north elevation, this is what that addition that you'd be seeing across from Beatty's Alley. So not not too much going on that side. And then these were some remodels that had been produced for the previous edition. If I welcome any questions you have. I think there. Oh, did the mic turn off?
Yeah. Oh, we can.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I welcome any questions and thank you.
Any questions for the applicant?
I didn't have any.
Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking in public? All right, Frankie, if we're given for these staff comments and recommendations, please.
We just had observations. We had the structure was approved by the board, 4/14/2016. And since this is new construction, we don't think that the addition needs to be stepped in, but we're recommending a conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything?
No.
All right. Public comment in the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
I think it's fine. It's in keeping with what's already been established.
Does someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. Do I have a second to build the motion?
Second.
Becky, vote. Fillmore,
In favor.
Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky.
In favor.
The chair votes in the majority and the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6 is 80 South Battery. Frankie, if you give us a introduction or overview of the project, please.
80 South Battery is in Charleston, Council District 8. It is not surveyed circa 1952 in the Old New York District. Requesting conceptual approval for a 1-story addition and garage shed roof. Is the property's location on South Battery. However, back over to staff.
Looks like the battery may be dead.
Already gets really funny.
Sebastian Van Marshall, we are requesting conceptual approval for an addition at 80 South Battery. I'm working with Guy and Teresa, who are both here this evening. They've both been in this house for a long time, and Guy would love to add a couple comments as well at the end, so you would have a chance to speak as soon as I'm done with the presentation. 80 South Battery was built in 1953 and has since had a couple of additions. You can see here the Sanborn maps. Obviously, back when, as late as 1902, when the river came as far as Elizabeth Bradham's house and Randy Pelzer's house right here at the end of South Battery. And then in 1944, you can see it was an empty double lot, and still in 1951, still just an empty double lot over here. But that's where the house is built. Some aerial images. Some context pictures. 80 South Battery is in the middle at the top, and then the house to the left, 84. Directly across the street is 79. And I would like to draw your attention just really quickly to this specific picture, because what we were requesting is very similar to what Hal and Shannon Ravenel did about 10 or 15 years ago, which was they added a primary bedroom suite on the side of the house here. You can see that. I think actually you can see in the aerial images sort of washed out a little bit, but where is it? Right, it's right here. You can see that 1-story addition that's right across the road. So Guy and Teresa have been in this house for a long time, and they would like to do something similar. So we worked with the existing site constraints, which include a pool and a garage that was added in the early 2000s. The pool's a little older, and a sunroom on the back of the house. Here's the survey of the property. And in the interest of trying to follow best practices of passing on to a historic building, we did want to try to locate it in the back, obviously, because it's a primary bedroom suite that's meant for aging in place. It is designed to be on the main level of the house. And there were sort of very few places for us to do that between the garage, the driveway, the pool, and the fact that we, of course, didn't want to touch the front of the house. That kind of left it off onto the northwest corner there where there's an existing pool shed. Here you can see the site plan that is showing that roughly 650 square foot addition. I would like to point out as we're getting to these plans, the scale and the size of the addition is driven both by sort of programmatic needs, but also by accessibility needs. So what you can see in the master bathroom here, for example, we have a 3-foot turning radius for a wheelchair. The goal is to design a shower that would be roll-in so that you'd be able to get access to that without having to step over a curb. Doorways are all sized to be able to fit the wheelchair through and get around. So you can see there's a closet, a little sitting room, a bedroom that's centered to the pool, and a garage on the other side where we're proposing the awning, and then the bathroom all the way on the north. You can see the existing proposed roof plan. And then the south-facing elevation facing South Battery. So the part that would be visible from the public right-of-way is this addition right here, which is about 8.5 feet wide by roughly 15 feet to the top of the parapet. It is a 1-story addition, and we are designing it to mimic an addition that we previously did on the house up here, which is Teresa's art studio. So same material palette. The idea is that the additions are consistent, but consistently different from the historic house, at least the parts that are visible. And then this is really the most telling elevation where you can see that 1-story extension. The goal really was to create some sense of symmetry across the site so that the bedroom windows are on axis with the pool. And then, as I mentioned, still leaving enough room for the necessary spatial requirements in the other areas. And then the north elevation. The east elevation is close to property line, so it's less than 3 feet. So we don't have windows in there. And then here you can see the awning on the garage. This garage is from 2005, so that is a modern building. Again, the idea was to not create a counterpoint across the pool from the master bedroom wing. We did receive BZA approval for this addition as well on the same date, January 20. And we have letters of support from the immediately adjacent neighbors to the west. So the neighbor that's most affected by the addition on the side, as well as the neighbor directly to the north, Bill and Jane Shiver at 7 Lounge Street. We also have a letter of support from neighbors across the street, including a last-minute text message letter of support from Hal and Shannon Ravenel at 79, who did the addition that I pointed out several years ago. We also met with the preservation groups and had some great conversations about differentiating and subordinating the structure, trying to set it in the back. With that, I leave it to any questions or.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, is there anyone speaking to the public?
Laurel Fay with the Preservation Society of Charleston. We appreciated the opportunity to meet with the owner and project team on the site recently. While we recognize that this addition would not be highly visible from the public right of way, and we are supportive of the owner's goals to age in place, we encourage lessening the impact on the historic structure by reducing the horizontality of this footprint and retaining the corner of the original building footprint. We thank the applicant for their openness to our feedback. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking? Frankie, if you give us these staff comments and recommendations.
Staff has some observations. The typically we request that additions step in from the existing structure and telescope down toward the rear. With this, the furthest portion of the addition needs to be have the tallest section approved. And while not rated in the existing survey, the structure is now over 50 years old and would be considered historic. That also have a condition that we recommend that some sort of fenestration be included on the street elevation. But our recommendation is deferral please study.
Thank you, Frankie. Sebastian, did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public comment or the city staff comments?
Sure, I'd actually love to give Guy a chance to maybe speak on behalf of the project. So, that's okay.
No.
Well, I'm Guy Tarrant. This is my wife Teresa over here. I was born and raised in downtown Charleston. I'd like to stay in downtown Charleston. This house we've been in for 40 years. And we got some sympathy initially from this city called aging in place. And that's kind of what we're interested in here, is being able to stay in this house with a first floor bedroom addition, which would be much more beneficial to us going forward, because I don't want to be in a nursing home. If you have any questions, I'll be delighted to answer.
Thank you.
Sebastian, can I ask a question?
Ask Sebastian the question and then Sebastian can determine.
They're suggesting we come in
I
from the front.
I guess, yeah, I'll add a couple of maybe response comments here. You know, I think ideally I appreciate that because it is a historic structure, we would obviously want to hold this back corner. I believe both the Preservation Society made that comment as well, and we talked about whether we could retain this corner and step the structure in. But I think what Teresa is alluding to is that we then pretty quickly run out of space to make any additional to fit our program back onto the site without in some way getting out and around the pool. So while I understand that that is one of the key features that we try to look for in these additions, that it becomes pretty challenging pretty quickly to fit what we would like to fit in that area. Regarding the staff comment about telescoping the roof, I actually think that would be very doable. You know, right now the way it's masked, the roof line is the same. I guess the comment is that it goes, the volume expands over the primary bedroom and the primary bath, and it's lower over these more utilitarian spaces. It seemed to us a little counterintuitive to have a larger volume for a closet in the sitting room and then a smaller volume for the bedroom, which is why we kind of have that lower connection to a larger actual bedroom suite at the end. In the same way that very often a connection between a historic structure and a kitchen structure maybe, well, there are lots of examples of very tall hyphens, but the idea being that sort of it sort of has a subordination of the already subordinate addition to then a slightly larger bedroom addition at the end. So that was kind of the massing study. Now, one option, of course, would be to say the primary bedroom massing stays the same, and then we bring the massing of the bathroom back down again. So it sort of shows the hierarchy of the spaces, so that the bedroom obviously has sort of that prime position, first of all, and access right on the pool, but also a visual it has visual importance by having the largest visual, the largest elevation component in that study. So I hope that addresses some of the city's concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment on the applicant's presentation is now closed. Move into board discussion and vote.
The requirement of telescoping down, to me, that generally applies to a different type of house, I think in the terms of a Charleston single house. This to me, that the same rule doesn't necessarily have to apply to a house such as this. I agree that the larger mass should be centered on the pool. I think that makes sense. And I think by dropping the roof over the closet areas and all that are closer to the main house, that in itself creates a lighter touch on the main house. I do like the idea of being able to drop the bedroom roof down a little bit on the very end. But this is going to, not much of this is going to be visible at all. So I'm other than dropping that end of the roof over by the bathroom, yes, I'm comfortable with it.
I need articulation of that northwest corner of the main house.
Okay.
Like that wall's gotta, I think they can do it. That wall of the closet's we've gotta be able to see the corner of the existing house. And I think I agree with staff, if there could be fenestration on the front, that would help the front presence. I also would like to see the garage in relation to the street, in relation to the building. So in that street elevation, to actually see the garage and understand the scale of that relative to the building. So those are my comments.
I think, or do you want to go ahead? I had no problem with height, scale, or massing. I thought it was designed well. It's very subordinate to the main mass, unlike some we've seen earlier today. And also about having to add fenestration to the front elevation. If you do the math, there's only 8 feet there. So I don't think there's that much to where a window would benefit that much, but
It also sets very, very far back.
yeah.
And if you're looking at it just purely in elevation, yeah, it's prominent, but if you consider that is actually setting back in the back corner of the house.
Right.
I'm not overly worried about that. It's a closet. I mean, if they were willing to put a window in the closet, fine. Could maybe be handled with landscaping.
I mean,
Just to
it's
soften it.
be a wall in the middle of it is the problem with it. And it is very far back, so I don't think it's going to be that visible. If you look on the site plan, it's pretty tight through there. There's a generator stand there. I haven't visited the site, but
Actually, I think it's clearly subordinate. I don't have an issue with the larger mass being to the rear. I agree. I think having that larger mass to the center of the pool is probably makes sense. I do think it's very possible to hyphenate that corner. So I don't think you lose really anything significant in doing that. It's more just a sort of a little framing conundrum. You create a little nook. And I do think just in elevation that a window on that front face somehow would help the street presence of that, because I think that's that even though it's set way back, I think that aspect's been pretty street probably. But it's certainly not I think overall it's fine.
So it sounds like a conceptual approval with some comments, more conditions. Anyone prepared to make the petition?
I'm the only one that wanted no comments, so it's got to be one of you three.
I got hyphenate the northwest corner, and then seems to be split on whether a window or some fenestration.
Fenestration.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that to my
It doesn't
architect
have to be a
colleague.
window, it could be
Yeah.
something else. I'll make a motion conceptual with preliminary and final review by staff. Study. Hyphenating the rear corner of the building. Dropping the roof line above the bathroom.
Say that one more time.
um, Above the farthest most bathroom. Study the addition of some type of fenestration to the street facing wall. Did I catch everything?
We have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with final review by staff with 3 board conditions. To study hyphenation of the rear corner of the building. Dropping the roof line above the farthest most bathroom. And resetting the fenestration on the south wall of the addition. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Drama with the motion to a vote. Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky,
Yay in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Belmont,
Yeah.
chair votes the majority and the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. One more suggestion. Agenda item 7, 14 Greenhill Street. Frank, you have to give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
14 Greenhill Street in Charleston, which is Council District 8, is not surveyed, circuit requesting conceptual approval for new garage and exterior alterations to the central bank. This is the property location in Greenhill. Okay, sir. Fashion, I will turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you. All right, thank you. That's getting a little drunk. Thank you. This is a bit of an unusual one for us. This house was built in 1991. We're requesting conceptual approval for relocating the garage that is currently at the back of the structure. We're working with Glenn Gardner, and in between Glenn and myself, we've had several conversations with the city staff and with the preservation groups to try to figure out how to tackle this, because you know, on first blush, it looks like a beautiful old house, but then on closer inspection, it is a modern house that was built about 35 years ago. You can see here on the Sanborn maps, as late as 1989 from a Google Earth image, which I didn't realize you can get it from 1989, but there it is not. And then by 1994, you can see the structure here, the Sanborn map showing Greenhill back in 1944. What's interesting is by 1944, you were starting to see the impact that cars had in development patterns on this end of the peninsula. This little pink shed right there, that brick structure, it says auto on it. That is a garage and is currently extant on the street, and it has a street facing garage door. There are a number of other houses that were built in the early to mid 20th century on this end of the peninsula that started incorporating garages because people have cars. So I only point that out because I think it speaks a little bit to what the owners are trying to do, or at least it helps to make a case for what the owners are requesting, and what really drove the genesis of this project, which was to find a way to reduce the impervious coverage on the lot. Right now, you can't see it in the aerial images, but you can see the house here from the south. It has sort of the massing of a traditional single house, and then it has what looks like an addition. They're all built at the same time in 1991. There's a view looking up and down Greenhill Street, formation, and then across the street you can see you can't quite see the garage, but it's sort of like that. And then pictures of the house. So again, on first blush, it looks like a beautiful old house. If you look closer, and if you actually look at the old drawings, which we have from historical concepts, a lot of that cornice trim is made out of AZEK, it's PVC. and the windows are all impact rated. So it is thoroughly a modern house. You can see the garage on the back of the structure. This faces east, a car garage. They tucked it under this addition. And you can also see the amount of hardscape leading into that garage, and to get the cars back there, driving the entire length of the site and then turning and coming in. In fact, the turn is so tight that a large SUV can't really get back there. So in the interest of making the vehicle access and parking simpler for the owners, continue pulling vehicle parking pressure off of Greenhill Street, which is one way, and people park on the sidewalk to be able to see cars there. And to find a way to tastefully incorporate it further on the front of the site. We came up, we worked with Glenn. Here's this landscape drawing that shows the demo of the hardscaping in red. You can see the hardscaping currently that takes cars all the way back. And then the proposed landscape plan, and Glenn ran the numbers on it. He reduced the hardscape by about 900 square feet, or 10%. It was about, it went from down to something like 1900 from 2800 or something like that. So a really significant reduction, and that's really what's driving this project. Then of course the second part was, well, where do we put the garage and how do we make it look good? And that's where we came up with a couple of sketches to consider how you may be able to do that on the existing house, non-historic house, but by incorporating some carriage style doors on a side elevation. Now it is the side elevation that you can see, but it is not the front, which I realize is one of the main criteria for the preservation staff and for the city staff. They don't want forward facing garage doors on the house, which we wouldn't want. But in an oblique view, you can see that there would be a noticeable change to the elevation, obviously. On the ground floor, you can see here the existing masonry arcade out under the porch, and then the actual back of the wall. This is mostly wood framing, surprisingly, and because it isn't flood, it all has to be breakaway. And then you have masonry pier. So the only changes to the masonry are kind of, some changes here and here, but a lot of this is wood infill that would end up being removed. And then some other minor modifications under the house there. And then the elevation. And part of our concept was to try to break up the massing in a way that focuses attention to the center of the building. So where our scheme actually had some changes to the porch as well, the goal being to create a portico and an edicule in the center that essentially then gives more visual weight to the central opening below, and instead of having a rhythm of A, you now have B, which then matches up symmetrically with the double bays above, and then a strong central axis in the middle. So that was just an attempted sleight of hand to try to help provide some logic to the reconfiguration and the respacing of the arches below. And then the front elevation, very little change. I think in here, the only thing we're proposing is to replace this metal gate with a wood louver gate so they can keep their trash cans in there. And that is it. As I mentioned, we did speak with the preservation groups. I have been in touch with the neighbors directly to the north and the neighbors directly to the south, who both had questions about the impact on impervious coverage and runoff. And I assured them that this design is based on the concept of reducing impervious coverage and increasing the amount of water infiltration to reduce flooding risk. This is very low, so they do have that problem, and Glenn is very well aware of that. So the concept is really formulated around that. If you have any questions, thank you so much.
The new settlement over
Yes.
the center door in elevation didn't look like the back end of that gable lands on the sill
It would.
of the Palladium window, does it?
Yeah, no, it does not. So it would be almost like a parapet with a cricket behind it. So it would be forward
So it's
in the plane of the columns only. That's correct. Yeah, we would not be touching the base of the building.
Any other questions?
Thank
Do
you.
we have anyone to speak in the public?
Payne Utility Historic Charleston Foundation, HCF does not oppose the alterations to the garage and exterior as proposed. This building was constructed in 1991. It's not a historic structure, and the proposed parking garage doors do not face the street, reducing their visual impact. We also appreciate that the proposed design enhances permeability on the site. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking from the public? All right, Frank, if you give us any staff comments and recommendations, please.
That had a couple observations. While we are not at all opposed to changing the garage from the rear to the side, we feel that the garage door should be set in from the facade like the existing ground floor windows behind the arcade. The garage door should be in the style of keeping with the existing structure. And we felt like the main floor porch roof should embellish should remain. Staff would just note, please, in condition for approval to please include elevations for all sides and complete plans. So staff recommendation is a denial with staff observations and conditions.
Thank you, Frank. Sebastian, did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public comment and staff comments?
Sure, just one really quick one. I think in I guess in early conversations, maybe there was a confusion on our end. There was talk of having sort of a limited set of drawings. I kind of focused on this, of course.
If I'm not remembering something, I will apologize.
Well, I only mentioned that, of course, we're more than happy to provide however many drawings are requested by the city. That's easy for us. The one other thing I forgot to mention, I think there's a great precedent for this, which unfortunately we did not include in our application, but the board may remember on number 1 New Street, which was built in I think in like 2017. It was also a new house with garage doors added on the side. I don't know if I can do this, but I'm sure just might share that just as a quick aid memoir of garage doors that are visible from the public right of way in the new structure. Obviously, those were purpose built in that, but I can share that for you. Thank you.
With discussion.
Yep. Public comment, the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote. I was distracted. Frankie.
I actually appreciate the changes to the site and the site design is much improved over the existing. I actually don't have a problem with the garage doors. I would be inclined not to change the rest of the elevation to just be calm about the base of the building and to have just done the 2 garage doors. I might have set them back. I don't know that they need to be back at the wall, but just back to give enough shadow, and maybe they're dark. So they're just not calling attention to them, not calling attention to themselves. I would have probably left the porch and everything as is, but that's personal.
I certainly appreciate anybody taking out non-pervious
Yeah.
paving and making it pervious. And so I certainly appreciate that. I mean, I really think this is driven by the pool, which again is fine. I mean, I don't object at all. And I think the landscape plan, including the pool, is really very nice.
Yeah.
This house was built in the 90s, so I think there's not a lot of things to be worried about here. I do think that the original face with the series of open arches created a nice little kind of open vista there, which is now going to be a solid wall. But it's built in the 90s. That I agree with you. I think it can be made. They set the doors back a little bit. It can be made to look just fine. It's visible from the street over by there, but it's certainly on the oblique. And I think that the original colonnade porch, a main floor porch colonnade and roof line is more in keeping with the overall architecture of the building than the new design. That's the one thing I would kind of like to stay.
I agree with what both of you said. We've actually approved, I'm thinking at least 3 side loaded garages on new construction. And so there is a precedent. I consider this new construction.
Oh, I think so too. That's what I was. We're not.
But we have required those
Building
to be,
here.
we've required those doors to be set in.
It needs to be. Some reveal there.
Yeah.
To create less of a solid,
Yeah.
continuous solid mass.
There's plenty of depth. I think I've looked on the plans, it's like 24 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
We're looking at the landscaping plan, too, or was,
Yeah, I think it's well done.
yeah, no, I agree. I just
I
want to
think
make
it's
sure
very
we
well done.
include. Okay. Bill, did you want to make a motion?
It seems like there's some concerns about the changes to the porch. I have no issues with the changes. to the
I
porch,
didn't either.
And that, I think is something that I would support if this were being built today, and it's not a change to an existing building. So I mean, I don't have a lot of strong feelings about that. So,
Just doesn't seem appropriate.
maybe Becky would like to make the
Yeah.
motion.
Well,
Becky, would you like to make a motion?
maybe I'll make a motion. I make a motion for conceptual approval. And let me just check, because I think my comments are in line with staff. With staff comment one, to set the garage doors in from the facade. I think that's what, 2 feet? 2 to 3 feet.
Yeah.
I need to give,
I think so.
okay.
I mean, I think you could go all the way back to the face of the next wall back, but I don't think it has to go back that far.
Okay.
So not the staff comment, because that was to bring it all the way back. It's more
Right.
like a
I think you
condition
have
that
to.
they
I
be
think-
recessed.
Yeah, I think that would be nice, but it's not necessary.
Right, I think it has to be at least 2 feet.
Yeah.
So at least 2 feet.
Yes. I agree with staff. I'm not, the style of the garage doors should be more in keeping with the existing structure. And actually, I agree with all the staff comments, that the main floor porch roof and ballast stone facade should remain existing.
So staff comments 2 and 3, because 1 goes too far.
Right, thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with final review by staff, with staff comments 2 and 3, and a board condition that the garage doors be recessed at least 2 feet. Do I have a second to Becky's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Bill, Carol,
Yeah.
Becky,
Yay in favor.
Gilmore,
Yeah, in favor.
the chair votes for the majority and the motion passes to unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Sure. We're gonna take a 10-minute recess. We will reconvene at 6:18.
Live down the street with South of Louisville, believe it or not. Many years ago. I have lived on just about every street in the city. Garage apartment, people hardly ever worked in.
You got me.
I was young then.
Really?
Yeah.
All the way down. Still working.
Yeah.
2 open arches, but but it would make it a little tight.
Yeah.
The cars, and I don't
So
think.
it's
you need
already
to do that.
24, I think if you go to,
Right.
that's okay, but.
It's tight. Yeah, I thought that was a little tight.
It was
You
a
know,
little
and
tight.
you go,
And also, I mean, that's where it's like, it is a new building and the new landscape is gonna be.
that's it, the whole thing. Yeah, the people are mess. I mean, you can make the whole thing pervious, just like.
Yeah, I like the way you call that a frame of conundrum. But it's like.
Why not? It's all you have to. Is do this. You gotta lose
It's
8
a
inches.
parapet right there.
You gotta lose 8 inches. So, something like that.
And then just turn
And
it,
then just turn it.
right.
Okay. I was wondering how we.
Kind of like one thing that side of
I was at the 2 days ago. Yeah, and I left my phone on top of the machine. I need that to that. I was like having music going and everything. And just realized, but yeah, I'm gonna at this time. Yeah. And Tyler. Studio and process and master. So we have a lot of. Yeah. They're like sailing. Selling material. Yeah, Tyler was very busy this. We're on agenda item 8, 106 Murray Boulevard. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the applicant, please.
Six April. Now, Council District 8. Count survey circa 2001 in the Work District. Which we successfully rule for old window and door replacement, addition, dormer, and other exterior alteration. Property's location on the boulevard. I will turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm Virginia Jett and I work with Julie at Myth Vernacular and we're the designers on the project. I'm not sure the demo date of the house shown on the Sanborn maps, but the current house was built in 2000, so it's not historic. There are some photos, and before we go through the drawings, I want to note that we're proposing to replace the existing windows and doors. The existing windows and doors are rotted, and since we need to replace them, this was our opportunity to change up the light pattern. And I'm going to start here on the first floor plan. This there's something at the regions that we're proposing to enclose. And here you can see that proposed enclosure. And then moving on to the third floor plan. On the front, there's an open deck that we are wanting to expand, which you can see here. You can also see a few fenestration changes. We're proposing 2 new windows on the front right here, a larger dormer on the south elevation to match the existing north elevation, and then 2 windows on the rear. So on the left is the existing house and the proposed is on the right. We're proposing all new full height French doors at the porches and a new set of doors at the roof deck. You can also see the proposed deck expansion up top as well as the 2 new circular windows. We have added a bracketed roof over the door to allow for more protection from the elements. And then here's the existing north elevation. And then our proposed. We're proposing new 2/2 light double hung windows to replace the existing windows. We're also proposing a bracketed roof over the door at the ground floor to protect it from the elements. And you can also start to see our enclosed porch addition at the rear. You can better see there. We essentially mirrored the existing bump out to create the enclosed porch. On the ground floor, we're proposing bracketed roofs over the doors again. And on the second and third floors, we have all new 2/2 double hungs. And you can also see the fenestration change at the top floor. This is the existing south elevation, and I want to note the dormer in the middle is the one that we're proposing to change to this larger dormer. That mirrors the existing dormer on the north elevation. And you can also see the 2/2 window replacements. And that concludes everything. Are there any questions?
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking? All right, Frank, you could give us the staff comments and recommendations, please.
Great, staff has had an observation, while staff typically does not support wholesale replacement of windows, we're not opposed to the change in fenestration due to the age of the structure. A staff recommendation is a conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. And Ms. Jett, did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the staff? Public comment in the applicant's presentations and close. We'll move into board discussion and vote.
Anything to say?
Anyone? 2001 house, so I also don't like this. I don't know.
There's probably only two things that give me pause on the west elevation proposed. I guess, doesn't look like the doors on the upper floor are matching the rest of the doors. And the overhang gives me pause. And then the overhangs over the garage doors seem really awkward.
Now, what is it on the west elevation that gets you?
The top floor change. The expanded deck, it's probably fine. It's the doors in the middle and the overhang.
It's the doors.
Well, they aren't matched. They look, the lights, they don't look like the rest of the doors on the project.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're right. I think they would look better the same proportion as the ones below.
and I don't think, I mean, I know it's a new house. Typically, you wouldn't really see an overhang up there on the top, but I'm not.
I think if you brought the doors in on that very top, then the overhang could come in a little and maybe it wouldn't be necessarily. Yeah.
The overhang on that little county roof.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You wouldn't typically see that on the gable end.
No.
And then the overhangs over the garage door seem really just awkward. I don't even know if
Yeah.
they need to not have any slope on them or something.
On that east elevation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you on those two.
I don't think the overhangs are needed.
If you all have
I don't know.
comments. Maybe we can ask-
Yeah,
Do you guys did you have a problem with the ones over the garage? I don't actually even know that they're necessary.
I had a note restudy or eliminate. If you wanted to make that one of your comments.
Okay. I made a motion for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. With restudy of the upper level, the door at the upper level to match the rest of the house. And when that's done, we need a restudy, a restudy of the scale of that, of the overhang above the door.
On the top floor. Okay.
Yes, on the west elevation. And then restudy or elimination of the overhangs on the east elevation.
We have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with final review by staff with two board conditions to restudy the door at the upper level west elevation to match the rest of the house and restudy the overhang. Also to restudy or eliminate the overhangs at the east elevation. Do I have a second to this?
Second.
Carol? Motion to the vote. Fillmore?
Yeah, in favor.
Bill?
Yeah, in favor.
Becky?
Yeah, in favor.
Carol?
You in favor?
Chair votes majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 9 is 74 Drake Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
Drake Street is the east side, Council District 4. It is a category 4, circa 1890 in the Old City District. Requesting conceptual approval for rear two-story addition, dormer, and window replacement. This is the property's location on Drake Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Hi, good evening. Christine Fishmarian with Rockwell Construction. As Frankie had mentioned, we're here to ask for a rear addition, and also that it would include a dormer and a couple of windows we'd want to replace. So just at a high level, the addition is fairly small. As you can see here in the site plan, we're not necessarily going too far out. It would be about 5% more lot coverage for the site with a couple of parking spaces in the back. This is really just to accommodate the owner with a primary suite. This would be his primary residence. Just the survey. A couple of photos you can see here of the existing structure. I won't take too much time on this, but basically you can see that many of the windows were replaced by the previous owner with vinyl windows, nothing really special. So they vary in type. Some are 6/6, which are historic, and then some have no lights. Some are 2/2, 4/4. They just vary. Some historical context. Which a huge thank you to the Preservation Society for providing most of this. It's actually quite cool. Basically, this house was built around 1886. This is between 1886 and 1890. This is a category 4 house built in the Queen Anne style and the sister home to 76 Drake. There are a lot of mentions of the property that date back to 1886. It's actually pretty interesting. It's a lot of rental ads for folks to come and rent a room. One of them is like a missing cow that belonged to the owner. It was actually pretty cool, but you won't see anything surveyed until 1902. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing to mention. So thank you again. So here is the proposed first floor and the existing. You can see that we're extending out the footprint to square off the rear, create a larger space for the owner to use as his primary residence. You can see on Plan East that the exterior wall of the new addition aligns with the existing, and you're pulling out the wall to create some sort of barrier between the house next door and the screened porch at the back. Just because it's so close to one another, it just felt right to leave that as a separation. And then second floor as well, we did add some stairs at the back to allow anyone who wanted to any guest or if it's used for short-term rental to use the back stairs to come onto the deck and enter from the back. Fairly simple, straight to the point. There's a door that leads into that unit with a couple of windows that you'll see in elevation. And then the third floor, the attic space, this is where we introduce the dormer. This is going to be split between the owner and guests or anyone who's going to do a short-term rental. So that dormer really is to accommodate access up to that third floor attic and to give you some clearance, some clearance for floor to ceiling headspace. And then the roof line, you can see we are keeping the slope as is. We're extending that roof line out, but based on some comments that we have with Preservation Society, we are bringing in the addition down 6 inches to create some sort of differentiate the two, which you'll see in elevations as well. And then you can also see the dormer at the rear. So for the front elevations, the proposed south elevation, you can see we're not doing much to the front, we're keeping it as is. The only thing we're changing out is this window here. That is a new window to a 6/6 to keep it consistent, keep the elevation consistent. And also this window here is also not a historic window, changing that to 4/4. You can see the proposed north elevation here. This is that screened porch we were talking about, fairly simple. And then you have the back wooden stairs that lead up to the second floor with double hung 4/4 windows, and then an additional window up top to maintain consistency with the other windows and to bring in more light. And then you can see that new dormer here, and that's the existing dormer. And then your existing elevation, you can see here, we're keeping it for the most part as is. These windows remain, this window here remains, this one will be a 6/6 to keep that consistency. This area here would be that addition with a 4/4 window. And then another comment that was made was to bring that corner board down all the way to keep us up to maintain separation between that existing and that new addition. And the same for the east elevation, we're just bringing in some more windows to bring in some light. That dormer will have double 4/4 windows, 4/4 windows, a couple more windows to just bring in as much light as we can. And then some 3D renderings to get a better idea of the space. And that is it. Try to keep it as good.
Any questions for the applicant?
The bay on the west elevation, do you know if that's original or if it was an add-on?
This one right here.
Yes.
I would have to circle back with my team, but I would believe that's an add-on.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Do we have anyone speaking?
Speaking to the historic Charleston renovation, HCF appreciates that the height of the addition is lower than the historic structure. However, we believe it could be further refined to be more subordinate and further differentiated from the historic structure, allowing the evolution of the structure to be more easily understood. Thank you.
Laurel Fay with the Preservation Society of Charleston. The PSC appreciates the applicant reaching out to us on this request and for taking our feedback into consideration. To ensure that the evolution of this historic building is clearly legible, we ask that the proposed addition be tucked in on either side of the historic footprint so that the corner boards are retained, further subordinated in height, and differentiated in its material palette. And lastly, we appreciate the applicant's willingness to study the age and condition of the woodwork in the front gable and encourage retaining this decorative vernacular feature. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking? Brandy. Oh.
I am Josh Gooden, live downtown. I think you might have just covered what I was gonna talk about, but, yeah, just notice on the front gable, how they're changing the pattern of the wood from like a chevron or herringbone to a just straight, like up and down pattern. It's just, I guess, like the one kind of like a nice, fun, quirky feature of the house. And it's not caught out in the drawings, it's being changed. It's just a drawing, no error, but it'd be nice to just make sure it gets kept. I don't know if it's even the original of the house, but it's just fun and I like it. And that's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking? Okay, Frank, you could give us any staff comments and recommendations.
Staff had some observations first. If there is evidence of a window in front, historic evidence of a window in front gable, staff would be able to support that change. And we also think the additions should be subordinate to the existing house and step in from existing structure, also go down toward rear. Staff condition for approval is that the new roof should be lower than the existing ridge and tucked under the existing roof. Staff recommendation is a conceptual approval with staff conditions and preliminary comment will be with staff.
Thank you, Frank. You want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public comment? All right, public comment. The applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
I think the preservation groups and also Frankie have kind of covered everything. My concerns is more differentiation. It's very difficult to tell what would be the original portion of this building and what would be the add-on. So just in a nutshell, more differentiation for the addition.
But definitely the walls have to step in.
Yes.
The corners have to be defined.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's critical. The front, I think the window can be added if there's evidence, but I agree, otherwise the pattern of the wood is very unique.
Yeah.
I think the dormer is a little awkward. But
I always wonder about the dormer. It would be better to, instead of introducing yet another roof form, to do another gable dormer, like what you
like pick up on the
Yeah,
vocabulary of the
side.
house.
Yeah.
Right. It
Bit of
seemed
a
foreign, like
Yeah.
a foreign vocabulary. Yeah.
The only other, you covered everything. I mean, the walls need to be set in, be subordinated, needs to be differentiated. The front gable is studied and retained its original, its form and side. Retained its original. The other comment I had. Elevation. On the north elevation on the back of the addition, the two windows are slam up against the door.
Yes,
And
Is that- I
there
didn't
could
know-
be some separation there.
Yeah, if that elevation is visible.
If it's visible, right,
that
it may not
leaves-
be visible,
That leaves a lot to
but
be
if
desired.
it's visible, that
Yeah.
door needs a little space.
I would like to say one positive thing is that I appreciate the cleanup of the back end of this house because it is
Yeah,
it's
it's a
kind of a
mishmash.
mishmash.
Yeah.
So it's a deferral or,
I think so. I think I would want to see this back.
all right, do we have a motion?
Make a motion for deferral, taking into account board and staff discussion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for deferral, taking into account board and staff discussion. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. I'll put the motion to a vote. Daryl,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Okay, in favor?
Bill one.
Yeah, in favor.
The chair votes the majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 10, 38 State Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction over to the project, please.
38 State Street, order, Council District 8, it is category 2, circa 1815 in the Old Historic District. They're requesting conceptual approval to enclose a rear portion of piazza and changes. This is project location on State Street.
Hello, Brian Crouch. Being the owner, just wanted to give kind of a brief history of the property. This this house was commissioned by James Ross. It was a typical Charleston single in the federal style. You can tell by the arched piazza and the elaborate federal surround. You can't really see from here. Which you can see in this top image here. The property had a number of different tenants, and it's believed that the first floor was originally a commercial space. There's some evidence from past permits in 1930 of a door infill, and then this picture from the 50s of showing kind of some scoring of stucco, believing that was originally a commercial entrance. The property had a lot of different owners in 1978, or a lot of different occupants. 1978, it sold for the first time, ending the Ross's ownership of 151 years. In 1991, the brick driveway on 40 State Street side was established. And then in 2005, this two-story mass was added on. This was formerly 40 State Street. Now the property has been formally subdivided into three different parcels. It's 40 State Street along the bottom floor here, 38 State Street is the top floor, and then 40.5 State Street is here in the rear, which was the original kitchen house. So we're proposing a number of things, maybe starting at the front. The driveway here into 38 State Street is very tight. It's an 8-foot in the clear from the piers, and then there's jam on either side. It's 7'10" in the clear, and so we would request to widen that space here, shifting the pier at the front to align with the piazza piers, and then also relocating this one, shifting it down, keeping the original gates. The original gates here, and then just adding panels onto the side, here in a similar decorative form. The front elevation, I submitted a different version. I don't think it, can I hand this to them as a, so we have kind of redesigned the proposed gate on 40 State Street driveway. To be kind of subordinate to this with like a radius here that scrolls in the middle. We would like to have a driveway on that side. The homeowners just had issues with people parking in front of the driveway. So having like a little bit of privacy there is what the goal for this is. Moving to the piazza infill. Yeah. We would like to, so the homeowners really would like to have a kind of secondary entry where they can come in and bring their dogs through, take their shoes off, have a drop zone. And so we would like to include this portion of the piazza here. It's really buried kind of back. There's a site wall here, and then this is a 3-story mass. So it's buried. It's a dark space, and we would like to relocate this existing
this existing door here to the corner of the house. You can see in the floor plan, shifting this to here. Partial would be the mudroom here, and then also growing the kitchen space there. And then also on the ground floor, we would like to also include or enclose this area here for an exercise space. You can't really see this from any public right of way. In the elevations, you can see it. Here and here, but there's a site wall that stretches across there. You wouldn't be able to see it from the parking lot.
Questions for the applicants? All right, thank you. Do you have anyone speaking?
Laurel Fay with the Preservation Society of Charleston. The PSC is not supportive of this proposal to infill an original piazza on a Category 2 building. This is an early and rare example of a federal style wraparound piazza with spring arches that contributes to the character of this property and the neighborhood. While we appreciate the applicant's effort to be as sensitive as possible by concentrating the proposed infill to the rear and pursuing a glassy open treatment, the intact footprint is integral to the conceptual relationship between the house and piazza and should be preserved. We ask the board to deny this request. Thank you.
Kate Tilly, Historic Charleston Foundation. Per the policy statement for piazza enclosures, which emphasizes the importance of preserving the Charleston Piazza as a character defining architectural feature, HCF is opposed to the proposed infill of piazza of this Category 2 structure. We respectfully request that the board deny this request. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking? Frank, you could give the city staff comments and recommendations, please.
Staff have some observations, but since it is a Category 2 in the architecture inventory, staff can only approve repairs in kind. Staff is concerned about the age of the existing driveway gate, since it's shown in some of the early photos that were provided. The piazza infill does follow the piazza statement for policy enclosures as the location of the enclosure. The location of the enclosure shall be to the rear of the piazza, minimal inside, and not alter the conceptual relationship between the house and the piazza. However, due to the location of a parking lot behind the structure, the proposed piazza infill would be visible from East Bay Street. Staff condition for approval is that the existing gate should remain intact. Staff recommendation is conceptual approval with staff conditions and preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Culture, do you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in a public comment or the city staff recommendations?
Yes, I understand the desire to keep this portion of the, sorry, I've got Brittany's report. Just get to some photos. So I understand the desire to keep that. This rear portion of the piazza has already been heavily altered, as you can see from this image from East Bay. The piazza here has this infill of the primary bedroom that was done in sometime in the 90s. So I feel like this space is not visible from East Bay. This portion of it would be, but the piazza's been altered before, and you can see 95. Here's that infill of that space there. And we just feel that we are following the guidelines of piazza.
All right, public comment in the after presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
I apologize for not seeing this earlier. I was following along on my computer and it was not cooperating. So I did not get, so but I do have a couple of quick. have any history of the gates?
We do not. I believe that they're Philip Simmons gates just by the nature of the scrolls. And they would remain intact, just slightly altered, adding
What's the existing width to that? You said it and I missed it.
Yeah, it's 8 feet to the piers, but then there's 2x jams on either side, kind of further pinching down the clear space.
Thanks.
And when you add on 8 inches, what is that material? How does that work?
It's wrought iron, so basically just tacking it on.
So it's like a bar that's coming out and going over. I didn't see it in elevation.
So similar, carrying like the same datum lines over across, and then subordinate kind of details filling in these spaces. It has really decorative scrolls, but carrying like the smaller details into these same panels.
And do you have a date on the piers at the front?
They seem to be from historic images dating back to at least 41.
Have you done any investigating as to whether or not, what type of brick they're made out of? If
We haven't done any demo investigations.
And what is the city's position on infilling porches? I guess I missed that
Policy statement.
policy
To the
statement.
rear, and I usually it's just to the rear of the structure, it needs to be reversible.
It needs to be reversible, not alter the relationship between the house and the piazza. I did not quote the whole thing. I apologize. I should have. Be minimal in size. I feel like there's another.
This is generally what we ask for, and we haven't seen them, and it seems like we had a lot several years ago, and then people stopped asking for them, and now we're.
Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, I would not support the first the main floor porch infill. It is visible, it extends out to the edge of the house, and this is a category 2 house or a category 4 house. Maybe there was, this is a category 2 house, and that porch configuration is typical of grand single houses, which runs the length of the side of the house and turns and dives into what originally would have been a very abbreviated 2 or 3 story section of the original house, and that little bump out, created the land for those porches. It was used for all kinds of things, pantries, service access, a number of things, but it's a very typical detail on grander single houses. I mean, we've got another one on the agenda tonight that originally had that, not about porches, but originally had very similar 3-by-3 story houses, exactly that same, or originally had exactly that same kind of configuration. I've seen them over and over again, and I think that taking that away from the original architecture is inappropriate, exacerbates a bad decision above it, and I cannot support the gates. I understand 8 feet. I mean, that's pretty tight. You're probably going to want to, not drive the big Lincoln SUV, something smaller. I think there needs to be a little more research done. I would not want to deny that part of it outright. I think there needs to be more research done to try to identify the maker of the gates. If those are Philip Simmons gates, I think we have to be very careful about what's done to them. And again, the columns, I think a little more research to try to determine the age of the columns and maybe match that to the gates. But I think there's a little more research on the gates. I'm certainly not opposed to some modification to try to make that feel a little easier, but I think we need more information.
I think I'm in agreement with everything you said, so.
I don't have anything else to add.
Becky, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would make a motion for denial of the porch infill and deferral of the modification of the gates and the piers for further information.
Motion on the floor for denial of the porch info and deferral of the modifications to the gate and pier to further investigation. Do you have a second to Fulmer's motion?
Second.
Bill? Put the motion to a vote. Becky?
Yay in favor.
Daryl?
Yeah, in favor.
Mark?
Yeah, in favor.
Bill?
Yeah, in favor.
Did you have a majority and the motion passed unanimously? Thank you. Agenda item 11, 244 Ashley Avenue, Fillmore. You're out. You're in the water. You'll give us the introduction over the project, please.
244 Ashley Avenue is in Canterbury, Labor, Council District 6. It is not surveyed since 1930 in the Old State District, requesting conceptual approval for a front addition. This is the property's location on Ashley.
Thank you, Joel Adrian with Coastal Creek. 244 Ashley, this is your second time reviewing this, and the area that we're going to focus on is this front left portion of the property. At the last meeting, Becky specifically felt like we were not being sensitive to the existing house with the length and the size that we were proposing for this addition and the front left. Hopefully that as you look at this, you'll see that we've listened, we've responded, and are in a good place. Same context photos as before, aerials. The lot very unique with the real site plan. Lot is unique in its shape because the house is over 100 feet off of the front property. The adjacent house to the left of it really blocks the area that we're improving or making changes to on this, except for the very front facade. So if you look at this, and you see that front facade, that is the only vantage or view that you have of this structure. You never actually see the side elevation. And we are looking specifically at this area of the house here. We had the original house, this part here, plus this little wing. This 5-foot area that runs the depth that steps in just slightly was an addition that was done to it. And its roof goes over top of the hip roof of that 1-story piece that is that little wing to the left. When you look at the location of the adjacent house, you're on the street. Even if wherever you are, you never see the actual left side of the structure. You're only seeing that front wall. So our proposal. Let's see, was this the previous? This is the boundary survey. So our proposed. Oh, sorry, it is. So our proposal is to extend that little addition an additional 10 feet or so. I think it is. We'll see here in a second. Existing first floor, second floor, focusing on the area for demolition. There is a little window in this bathroom. It's 2.8 by 2.8 that we're proposing to infill because we're going to enclose that with our addition. Again, no sight line to this side of the house. The only thing you see is that front elevation. I think here is the big change. When you look at the previous submittal that we had from the corner of the existing house, we were proposing 19 feet 3 inches to come out. We have reduced that by 7 feet 3 inches. So now we're actually going to come out a total of 12 feet additional and modifying just this front elevation. There's no change to the second floor. There's only that first floor. Just going through, I think that we'll get to these elevations further existing. So this double door, the screening that's up here, again, none of that original maintaining the corners. So we're gonna hold the line of the addition and pull that forward. The other significant improvement that you'll see is when you look at this, this hip roof, they extended it out, or they put a little shed on this that goes on top of that. We are proposing to drop our addition down, to lower that plate height so that we can fully expose the fascia line that comes to the eave line that comes across here. So the previous one, again, looking at the way that we were trying to clad the house and trying to make it different, I feel that we've done better in reducing it. We weren't looking at a siding exposure change. We went larger, we could go smaller. So existing is 6 inches. If you didn't like the 10, we could go to 4, 8. But again, we're not removing anything that's historic to the house. And we hope that if you look at this, you'll feel like it is more in line with what was there. This is just showing again that left side elevation, what we're proposing to remove, picture of that little window that's proposed to come out. And the previous, and then our current, definitely pulling that back, hopefully being more sensitive to the structure that was there. Opposite side, no change, no impact. This was just added so that you could see existing, previous, and proposed all on the same sheet. Hopefully, you see the response that we've provided from the previous review.
Thank you.
Some aerials. Aerials are important. They show this picture here, existing roof, how it was modified for this addition that was put on. We're going to stretch that addition, cover this side window, but lower that so that that roof can be fully expressed again. And also give you some context of when you look here of the position of this house and that there's just no visibility to that side. Just some general context photos. They're very unique because of how far back it sits. And some 3D images that we've prepared for your review. Quite a mess there. And I'll leave it here and then answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Do we have anyone speaking? You'll give the police staff comments and recommendations, please.
Staff just has the observation that the addition has been reduced per the previous board discussion. And the new proposal is that less visible from the public right of way. Staff recommendation is a conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Joel, did you want to add anything?
Thank you.
We were in board discussion. I think he did exactly what we asked. I think
It's a big improvement.
Yeah, I appreciate the changes. It's much more sensitive of the historic fabric and just the scale of that particular spot. So much better suited, I think, too.
One question, Joel, your deck that you're putting on the front, that little deck.
Yes.
How much room is it between that little deck and the house itself? It looks like it's not much there. I'm just wondering, you just take the deck right to the house and get rid of that side?
Get rid of the handrail.
Yeah.
Well, we could do that. Back and look. Floor plan probably is here.
There it is.
There you go. Yeah, so, so if you want,
Yeah,
this.
I would have it you.
Let this come straight to.
Yeah, you could just do it at that piece of.
Yeah.
Really.
Have the handrail on that left side.
Yeah. It's a good point.
It's just a place for trash to collect.
Couple leaves.
Yeah.
Becky, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion for this is conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. With board comment on the front stair.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff with a board comment to consider eliminating the front stair railing. Yeah, that means just that one.
One side.
Not all. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
No, motion for the vote. Daryl?
Yeah, in favor.
Becky?
Yeah, in favor.
Bill?
You in favor?
The majority and the motion unanimously. Thank you. All right, agenda item 12 is 1227 Street. You can give us an introduction to the project, please.
1227 Payne Street is in East Central Council District 4. It is not surveyed 1985 in the historic corridor district. They're requesting conceptual approval for exterior renovations to existing structure, including signage. That is not the location. I will turn it over to the applicant.
Okay.
Looks like we got the wrong aerial put in.
Hi, my name is James Rice. I'm an architect and director of design with Tungsten Corporation. This is our second time in front of the group here. We also met with staff before the holidays to try to do our best to understand exactly what we can do to make this project what it needs to be. So here's a site plan. This is a modern day site plan. This is the highway here. Meeting Street, I believe, or King Street here. And then the other major crossroad. And back in 1957, it was pretty much historic homes, I would say. And then the highway came through. And then this is 1973 aerial. So the building was in place around that time, 1973. And then in 1994, it was still there. And today it's also still there. So this is an existing building that we are trying to make it much more useful and more beautiful to look at, much more useful for the community. And it's good. It's the same use. It's a convenience store at a gas station. We did as much research as we could with historic Charleston gas stations. We found a couple of examples that we were able to locate. These are other gas stations. I believe there's about 6 or 8 of them now that Sunhouse has throughout South Carolina. And in their normal plan is to just do the front facade, and the other 3 sides are plain or just basic. This particular scheme, this particular project, because it's very visible on 3 sides. You've got this side, the front side, and then the other side that are all like very prominent to the public. So we're proposing a 3-sided, scheme just because it's so visible. Right adjacent to this building, they have the highway, obviously, and there's a park, a public park, and they basically spruced up the utility function of the garage or the structure. They put murals. So there's a bunch of murals painted on the bridge in the back. You can also see them here. With the context, there's a kind of a big high rise there. That building might be historic. Well, I think that's the only one that's historic really in the area. And we're right on the edge of the historic district. You can see here's the highway, King Street here, Mount Pleasant, and these are the 3 sides that we think are very prominent to the public and that we needed to really address. Basic floor plan. Existing, this was a 3-bay garage where they changed the oil, water repairs, and then they had like a small convenience store here.
We're infilling the garage bays and just basically modernizing it so that it has much more use for the public and eliminating completely the garage. Here is an existing and proposed basic. We have 2 lit signs that we were proposing. The owner has suggested or has asked us to eliminate that sign, so there'll only be 1 sign in this application, and it's on the main facade on the left side. These were the existing garage doors, the existing storefront that was there. There's some security grills in there. What we did is we redid the facade, we redid the windows. We basically used the same openings that we had, except we tried to follow the historic proportions, you know, the proportions for the windows and for the mullions. And then there's a central door feature, and we're eliminating a window on that side because that's where the bathrooms are. And we're eliminating a whole door on this side because that's where the coolers are inside. This is the side elevation compared to the side elevation. There's existing wood structure that's in the back that house some HVAC or compressor equipment for the garage. We're eliminating all of that stuff. So we're really cleaning up as much as we can of the exterior of the building. And then this is a more developed drawing, shows the colors. And one of the things that was discussed by the board the last time was that we had proposed a corrugated metal system with exposed fasteners for the fascia around the building. And it was requested that we propose or that we use maybe a flush metal panel with no exposed fasteners. So we changed that whole system up and we more detailed everything so that you can kind of see better what we're doing. Excuse me here. We just included some additional details. If there was any questions, you could see here that it is existing wood. There was some questions about what we can do with the articulation of these various parts of the facade. But as you can see, they're really integral to the building. So we really can't cut them off or adjust them so much without really making a big deal. Just some more details. These are our colors. One of the things I was thinking about on my way down, because it's hard to review this from a historic standpoint because it's really not historic. But one thing we can do besides the proportions of the glass and the recessing them in the openings, these are very similar to the approved historic colors that are in the district. So we could adjust this color palette to use the historic colors, but we're just doing it in a different and more creative way. There was a request to detail the sign, so we went ahead and we detailed. This is a lit sign. It's a light box sign, fairly articulated. And like I said, there'll only be one, and we'll include that. We'll include that in our permit submittal, and we'll have a separate permit for that. And then this just shows the additional, the flat metal panel instead of the corrugated metal, and we included the specification and the details, and it'll be black to match the anodized black of the windows. And I think that's really it. I'll go back to that first page just in case there's any discussion.
Any questions for the applicant?
Can you, I mean, other than changing the panel system, what are the other changes that have you made since the last submittal? Because I'm not seeing in here the last submittal for comparison between existing.
Well, we haven't changed much. I mean, I didn't cloud this, but because it's just a different texture, it's the same color. It's still the same color, it's the same pattern. And if we did change something, I clouded it in the drawing. So the only thing now is we're gonna eliminate that sign. It's the only other change.
So architecturally, nothing's changed really, except we're just trying to understand.
Yeah, after meeting with staff, we had a really hard time figuring out exactly what the group here you know, because there's some comments, and I put the comments here on the cover sheet, and I tried to address it as best I can. You know, there's one comment, we've never seen anything like this before, and then another comment, well, Luda did a project like this before, and another comment, well, she used a different material. And so, I mean, it's a smooth hard coat stucco. It's gonna be a very, very nice product. It was very hard for us to react. And so really, you know, when I went for the signage information and they said, well, we can't review it until we have a permit. And then I applied for a permit. They said, we can't have a permit till we have Board of Architectural Review. So we're really at a standstill until we can figure out how to get beyond where we are. Because the construction drawings are done. I mean, if we need to change the facade or we need to make adjustments to the building as a result of the conversations and discussions here, we can do that. But we really want to try to see what we can do. And obviously, I understand this is not like anything that you guys have reviewed, at least here tonight. It's not a house in a historic district with railings and fenestration. But we honestly do feel it's a vast improvement from what is there right now. And we think it'll really brighten up the corner. And if we use the historic colors and we, you know, use the fenestration and we're as disciplined as we possibly can be, I think it'll be a real positive. And it's, you know, we're here because it's the one property on the edge of the historic district. So we're within the historic district, so it does require board review. And we appreciate that, by the way, you know, we really do. You guys have great, wonderful ideas and you make the place a much better city.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No.
Thank you. Do you have anyone speaking? Okay, Frankie, if you'll give us these staff comments and recommendations.
Okay. Staff, just one kind of observation. It would have been easier to kind of, for me to review, I was not at the previous meeting, if, you know, to follow the layout of the previous middle and the proposed on the same page, but the applicant did meet with staff and we believe the board motion has been addressed, as far as I could tell anyway. Staff recommendation was a conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Rice, did you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the staff comments?
The only thing is that I didn't have them on the same page, but I had the previous and the, I did show the previous and the new, but they weren't on the same page, so you're absolutely right. But there wasn't much change, and if there was a change, I commented.
All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
Well, I think the last time we talked, Fillmore, you had suggested pulling that little roof in a little bit, the black canopy that goes around the front of the building. I think it was you. I think you said it would look a lot better if it was cut off.
Oh, yeah, it was me.
It was you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was big.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
no, this is.
But
I think this is a conundrum.
Yeah.
he's proved that it should probably stay if it's constructed like
Yeah.
that.
I'm looking at it. It looks like just a wooden truss system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally didn't have a problem with it, but because it's a little coverage from the rain.
Yeah.
I mean, my instinct is that. Well, we don't know. The truss system is probably originally built.
Yeah.
So that extension is probably as part of that truss system.
Mhm.
But it's a 41-year-old Exxon.
Yeah.
I guess in 85, it would have been an Exxon station, not an Exxon station. It's an Exxon. 41-year-old Exxon station. That location is pretty significant. I mean, I'm thinking about that. I mean, you know, in the approach to the historic district from that direction, that's a very prominent intersection. And I mean, is it important how it looks? And that's a question, not a comment. Across the street is, you know, Big Blue Warehouse where I used to, where we used to have our offices and warehouse some years ago. And it's not very attractive, but you know, I think about that location and just the impact of, you know, you're entering the historic district sort of at that point. And it's a pretty prominent intersection. So like I said, that's a question for me. It's a question is what that, rather prominent little piece of dirt should be or look like. And the other thing is that for me is that, this is a 41-year-old Exxon station. Does it represent anything with any kind of authenticity? Does it have material authenticity? Does it have cultural authenticity? And maybe it's not. If it does, I think this goes in the wrong direction. If it doesn't, I'm not sure it goes in it's going in the wrong direction. It's adaptive reuse of an existing building. I mean, that certainly holds some weight.
I agree with you. I think if we were changing the use of this building, this would be a very different discussion, and we would be doing something very different with this, but it's going to remain sort of like a gas station. In the future, if this were going to become something different, I don't think that we would approve something like this, but no, this is going to be a gas station. It's a 41-year-old gas station. We're not dealing with even a historic gas station. So
I don't have a problem with it. I think that color. I don't know that where there's gonna be anything we can do about it. It's their corporate
I
brand.
know, I think that's what.
It's
we told them,
unfortunate.
Yeah,
but-
right.
If it were one solid color, it would be a lot easier to.
Well, I mean, the board does not have to.
As I was saying,
allow
if
corporate
it's
branding.
important,
We don't
how
have
this thing reads, then it's probably going in the wrong direction, but but it is corporate branding. It is going to be a gas station. It is adaptive reuse. And so I don't have a good answer.
It is what it is. It's lipstick on a pig. It is what it is.
Pretty much.
I think we were also asking if there were going to be any changes to the canopies, the gasoline canopies. Did you investigate that?
There are none proposed. There may be if someday a different gas company like BP or Amoco or somebody else gets the contract to put the gas, but our thought was that the building is neutral enough with the colors and with the black that it would blend, pretty seamlessly with whatever canopy system was put on. And I would suggest that if the new canopy system was put on, maybe you guys review that at that time, because there may be no change.
Yeah.
I think they have to be painted.
What about the colors of the canopy?
Right, they have to be painted to match the rest of it.
Assume the
That would
canopy would somehow, the color scheme of the canopy would blend in with the color scheme of the building. Is that?
Yeah, most likely.
No,
yeah.
I
No.
mean, it's red right now. We're
Yeah.
not proposing to change
Oh,
it.
you're gonna leave it
Right.
red. Okay. Oh, that's gonna clash.
I'm not seeing that.
Not before us.
No, okay.
I agree, this is a conundrum, and I don't think we're setting any sort of precedent here. 'Cause
I mean, I think the canopies have to be painted to match the building.
I think
And they
even
can
that-
work
I
with
think
staff
even
on
that-
that, without, we can't leave a red and white canopy out front with this like.
I think it would look a lot better with the black canopy on the building.
I do too. To me, the black canopy of the building begins to make sense if the gasoline canopy is with the black.
Right.
But that's not before us. I don't know if we can require them to do something they're not asking us to.
Well, they can't change this building unless they're changing those canopies.
Those red canopies and the color scheme on this building are.
No.
People are gonna have a wreck in that intersection.
That would be hard.
Well, I mean, are you saying we have to change the black to red? Is that what you're saying?
No,
No, it'd be the canopies,
Canopy,
Yeah,
gasoline
they
canopy.
have-
paint them black versus red.
Well, you're saying they need to match.
Yes.
And I can't tell Exxon, I can't tell whichever gas company is there to change their corporate to black. So we would have to change the building black to red if you wanted them to match. I don't think that would look very good.
The gas canopies have to be compatible.
Yeah.
The approval is based on the gas canopies being compatible with the
It doesn't
building.
have to be. the same
They
color.
just have to be.
My experience from the DRB years ago.
Yeah.
The DRB never approved corporate gasoline canopies. They had to be designed architecturally to work with the building.
That makes sense.
If you ride around the suburbs, you don't see any, that's modern day, they're all nicely designed.
So if the canopies have to be red, then they're looking at
I don't
having,
think the canopies have to be red.
I don't know that they would look very good black.
I think they would look better black, and it would make the heavy black top on this building make more sense.
So I think the approval is contingent on the canopies being compatible.
yeah, they don't have to be black with anything.
Yep.
Just have to be
Yep.
compatible.
They have to be compatible. They can work with staff on it. I'll make a motion.
I'm on board with that. Okay, Becky, what is your motion?
Motion is conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff, with the condition that the gas canopies the color scheme of the gas canopies has to be compatible with the color scheme of the building. And they can work with staff on that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. The board condition that the color scheme of the gas canopies must be compatible with the color scheme of the building. Do I have a second to Becky's motion?
I'll second.
Daryl, motion to vote. Fillmore,
Yeah, in favor.
Bill,
Yeah, in favor.
Becky,
Stay in favor.
Daryl,
You in favor?
chair vote to the majority, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
I just have one question. So is this probably gonna turn into a signage permit? Because obviously if we make the canopy black and then we have a red decal in the middle of it, to be able to say that it's an Exxon or whatever, that will need to go to signage permit.
Bill,
If you change the signage out on the canopy.
Yeah,
it
if
would need
you
a permit.
change the color on the, it would end up being a commercial permit and a signage permit that we would review at staff because they've
Okay.
given us authority.
All
I
right.
think canopy can change the hexagon to any colors.
Okay.
I would state that.
Okay, thank you so much for your review. Appreciate all the
with work with
comments.
staff, I think you can figure out something.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 13, 52 Hazel Street. Frankie, if you'll give us an introduction overview of the project, please.
52 Hazel Street, it's in Innsbruck, Council District 8, Category 2, circa 1843 in the Old Historic District, requesting conceptual approval. This is the property's location on Hazel. Turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening, Lauren from Plan Studio. I'll keep this short and sweet for you. Yeah, this is on Hazel Street, 52 Hazel, and we're just requesting to add a pool in the rear yard, 14 feet by 24 feet. The simple marble ice white coping. There's already an existing masonry wall and archway that's covered with vegetation. The pool's gonna be all the way back there in the very back. So these are 3D drawings, but they don't really represent how hidden the pool is from the right of way. So yeah, coping material, pool layout, pool equipment will be behind the house and not visible. And then I have the same board maps that are basically showing the same house footprint as the survey, but I don't know that those are relevant to the pool position or not. And that's basically it. We just requesting that pool.
So no grade change or anything.
Yeah, nothing's changing except for, and there is no pool deck, it will be lawn. They're just pool coping. Pretty simple.
And the pool equipment is not visible, so it's,
Correct.
and it would not be.
Correct. Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone speaking?
Each utility starts Charleston Foundation. Each CF proposes pools that are visible from the public right of way as they just have the historic character of the streetscape.
Anyone else speaking? Frankie, you could give us these comments and recommendations, please.
Staff just has observations since it is a category 2 in the architecture inventory. Staff can only approve repairs in kind. And that any equipment should be screened from view.
Okay. Did you want to respond to or clarify anything, Ray, from the public comment or the staff comments? All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. We'll move into board discussion and a vote.
Have any issue? It's very minimally visible, tastefully done, as long as the pool equipment is not visible from the right of way.
Plan.
It's approval.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion. Conceptual approval with preliminary and final reviews by staff.
We have a motion on the floor for conceptual approval with preliminary and final review by staff. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
I'll second.
Motion to a vote. Becky?
Yeah, in favor.
Daryl?
Yeah, in favor.
Bill?
Yeah, in favor.
Billman?
In favor.
The chair votes with the majority and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 14, 52.5 Hazel Street. Frankie, if you give us an introduction and overview of the project, please.
52.5 Hazel Street is Kingsborough. Sorry, Council District. It is 2 circa 1843 Historic District requesting an appeal of staff denial to continuation. It is property's location on Hazel Street. And I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening, I'm Louis Hopkins, I'm the owner of 52 Hazel Street and 52.5 Hazel Street. We're requesting to paint the masonry building at 52.5 Hazel. From what I've been told, this building was kind of reconstructed in the 90s and the masonry brick on it show that. They're really new brick. Also on that whole side of the piazza with 52, it's all painted masonry, and the back side of 52 is painted. So if you come down the driveway and walk to the back to 52, most of that masonry is painted now.
So this is the building in the back.
That's correct. This is
Oh, we already went.
But not the building in the front.
yeah, that's so this is 52 Hazel. All that historic brick are painted from there all the way around where the piazzas are to the street. The face of 52 Hazel is existing historic brick.
Okay.
This is 52.5 that we're requesting to paint this masonry to match that. We currently have a permit to paint all the masonry that is already painted on 52. And so we really just wanted to paint this to match that. From what I was told, I just purchased the house in June. This was done or updated all in the 90s. And all of this brickwork is, in my opinion, I'm a builder for over 30 years. It's 90s brick, the windows, doors, all of this stuff. So I'm not sure what the deal was or what was there prior to this, but it was, all of this is 30 years new, in my opinion. This is where it joined, all of that painted, right there.
You go.
They re-brick.
We did.
Is it old brick?
I think, it's a long time ago.
Do you want to wait
I
until
think
more
it's,
discussion?
Yeah. we need to wait.
Wait, okay, any questions for the applicant? Oh, did you complete your presentation?
Basically, just this is the rear of the building. This,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind, I can take a brick out of that building. It's not a big deal. That's not old brick, I promise. If you look at the windows, I mean, there's screens, everything's new on this building. There's nothing historic about this building. Not as far as the veneer or the soffit eaves. It's all, I would say 85, 90 or
Portland mortar.
yeah, just building more.
Any questions for the applicant?
You see the window here? I mean, all of these windows, doors, Very new facade on everything and the veneers new.
Any questions?
Yeah, the intent is to paint the color same as the color on the main house and
Yes,
sir
sir.
kind.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Do we have anyone speaking?
Really historic Charleston Foundation, HCF was opposed to painting unpainted historic masonry to preserve the original material.
Thank you. Can you give us the staff comments and recommendations, please?
Secretary of Interior Standards recommends against painting unpainted masonry. Or against painting masonry that has been unpainted or uncoated, and the request is part of the category 2 properties. The staff could not approve.
Thank you, Frankie. Mr. Hopkins, do you want to respond to or clarify anything raised in the public staff comments before we move forward to discussion?
Like I said before, we're very confident all of the brickwork is no brick.
All right, public comment and the applicant's presentation is now closed. Move into board discussion and a vote. Yeah, this is another one. So we haven't seen a lot of piazza infills in a while. We also had a slew a few years ago of people wanting to paint brick, and we sort of came up with a sort of standard like pre-1940s. No, you can't paint it. And then maybe it was like 1940 to 1960, maybe depending on the brick. So when I first saw this and I saw the age, and I'm not a brick master. I saw the age and I thought, okay, this falls in the category of something we would not approve. But if it's all new brick, I'm inclined to say okay, but with all that said.
I'm thinking because we've done a lot of work on the house over the years. And I believe this building was damaged in Chicago. Quite substantially damaged, and probably I wouldn't be at all surprised if the windows, doors, and everything in the facade are new, and that the repairs were probably done with a combination of brick that was there, because the structure itself is historic. It's connected care, connected, probably a connected kitchen, but the interior is largely new, completely new. And so I wouldn't be surprised if all of the fenestration and roof trim, I think the roof was probably bad. And I can't remember what the roof is. I want to say it's copper, but
It's like
quite a bit.
it's architect shingle roof.
It's an architect shingle.
52.5. The main house has partial copper and painted metal. Yeah,
And because it had turned. Most of that's turned. That house.
The brick headers are.
So
pretty
my instinct is
detailed.
that the rebuild of that thing, the combination is what salvageable old brick there was, and probably old Carolina as a replacement would be my guess after and so, but the building itself has never been painted.
How visible? That's what I can't get my
It's
head
visible,
around.
it's visible, if you take the vegetation out, and it's been a long time since I looked at it. Because we were in front of the house so a while back.
Can I speak about the visibility?
Does someone have a question for the applicant?
It is, there used to be, I haven't seen it in a while, there used to be a fair bit of vegetation, which made it difficult to see looking through the gates. And really, the only visibility is pretty much through the gates.
Okay.
And the driveway gates. And sans the vegetation, yeah, it's visible. I mean, it's not terribly visible, but it's visible. And I have a question.
That's great.
I mean, there's a reason to paint it. It's just to make it match the house.
Yes, sir. That whole side with the piazzas and the back and the, I'm gonna call it the hyphen, all of that's painted all the way to the street. And as it sits now with the vegetation, because there's a hedge and the 52.5 sits tucked back behind 52. 52's mass is much bigger. You have to look at a good angle and you can only see part of it. You could, I'd say 25% at the most of the building.
I think it is like, behind 52, and the connector, the small connector, 52 is wood, so of course it's painted. And that building, the back of it, down the porch sides, years and years ago. No, the front's not painted. My recollection is that the neighbor side, the zero lot line side is not painted. But I could be wrong.
No, you're correct. And we'll believe that.
It's not painted, but I know that house was, when we worked on it after Hugo, that part of that house was painted, of the main house. Okay. But I don't believe that carriage house, that kitchen building ever been painted. It's life.
So as a representation of the nature, the characteristics of the
building,
category
right.
2
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't support paying it. I mean, I would support in a minute because some of that, at least some of that brick's going to be porous. I would support in a minute putting a clear, kind, breathable coating on it for protection, but that wouldn't change the appearance of the building. I wouldn't support putting a color on it.
You would or wouldn't?
I wouldn't.
Originally came in here not in support of this, but hearing the age of that brick, and I understand
It's new brick.
the age of the brick, and I think also I would have a different opinion if this were the main house. I think the representation argument would give me a little more for the age of the brick and the visibility of it behind the house. I could be okay with painting this, and I'll say, even though I liked the rule that we had where we really discouraged painting brick. We end up with every house in downtown Charleston painted over the past 15 years.
I feel like it's not a good precedent because there are a lot of buildings that have a lot of non-original historic buildings that have a lot of non-original historic brick in them around Charleston, and I am a little reluctant to go down the slippery slope of saying, you know, if a lot of the brick's been replaced, and a lot of it's not the original brick, and it's okay to paint it.
So you're saying almost accessory structures like in the backyard? Are you thinking about what, like garage structures, kitchen houses?
I mean, the accessory structures in this case are as representative of the history and the original history of the house as the main house. I mean, this was the kitchen building. The fact that it was largely rebuilt on the same footprint, basically looking the same, and I think there's been some modernizations. Clearly, I think all the fenestration is new. And
That's what
and I think probably the roof framing is probably new, and all the roof trim is new, because I think, you know, the roof probably came off this building and got larger, and it was pretty badly damaged.
All the things that are new, everything you're saying is making me go more on the side of painting it. But there's so much.
There are two kinds of historic authenticity in structures. One is material, which is very important. The other is cultural and architectural. And the material and the architecture are easily definable because they are represented by real things. I mean, real material. Cultural authenticity is not represented necessarily by those things. It is to a degree because it's visual, but it's a different concept. And to me, that building has, if it doesn't have a lot of original material, that doesn't denigrate its cultural authenticity, and it should not be dramatically changed. And I think Department of Interior Standards would support me on this.
So you think that the painting dramatically changes it?
I do.
So that the character of the building.
Changes the character of the building. That building, the brick was never painted on that building, whether it's exactly that brick everywhere or whether it's a mixture of some original brick and a whole bunch of new brick. It looks like the old brick, because I think probably what that brick is South Carolina.
My thought on this is sort of like the piazzas we were reviewing earlier, in that the painting of the brick on the main house, that was a mistake. So why continue the mistake?
Yeah, like I said, the main house I know was painted before. And yeah, I think this exacerbates an already unfortunate situation. that the main house was painted.
Unfortunately, it doesn't match the historic brick. It's new, it looks new, it doesn't look like what's on the house, what's exposed to Hazel Street.
I don't doubt
It's like a new shoe and a, oh, you know.
Daryl?
I think it's a slippery slope. It's,
Very hard to see, very new brick, stands
I
out.
not disagree with that.
Very new
It is-
brick.
It is only minimally visible, but it is visible.
Elmore and I are arguing what.
The short time I've been on the board, we have really tried to not paint brick. I think there's only one time that we've allowed it and it wasn't. Yeah. So for precedent reasons, it's normally no.
Particularly on a structure which is, this structure is historic.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. So,
I don't know if I don't know if I've looked at it when it's, I'm calling this an accessory structure. I know it's not, but when it's, you know, a kitchen house. I think I'm remembering decisions where it's much easier for me to decide when it's the main structure.
No.
See the visibility?
Yeah.
Becky, what do you think?
I mean,
There might be consensus on the board. I'm just going.
I mean,
I know it could get.
well, let's start with the fact that I'm not sure how much of the brick is old. So I haven't seen it up close, so I'm not sure how much was salvaged during the reuse. I'm not in favor of painting.
Can I
It's a
share with you?
category 2 property.
Have you got additional ones?
Well, I mean, you might can see
The
them.
ones that are not in our packet.
Yeah, well, you could have, yeah, you can just see them better, you can see them up there too.
I've got it on.
Let me just pass these around because the brick are new and they're very consistent.
It's a tumble brick. Yeah. Yes.
But I think what I'm hearing from Elmore, it doesn't matter so much if all the brick is.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's
Thing.
still the nature, I'm in agreement. The nature of a category 2, I'm opposed to painting it. I think it doesn't need to be matchy and everything in the city doesn't need to be painted. So I'm not.
It's sort of shame that my main house got painted.
Yeah, this gives you a pretty good idea of
It's partly the character of the property.
Those kind of.
my guess is that's typed in white.
I don't know, so much better.
Be my guess is what it was like with just type in white.
Well, it sounds like y'all might have some consensus. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Gilmore and I have some concerns, but I don't know about anybody else.
No, to me, to me, it's about precedent. It's, I don't like to set precedent. And also, I just don't see the benefit of painting it. I think it's attractive the way it is, you know. Things don't have to be matchy, you know.
I mean, that's why I don't, you know, if it's an issue of protecting the surface, then that can be done without color. That can be done very effectively and within the products like Pine makes wonderful water clear, breathable sealer for masonry that once applied and dried, you can't tell it's there. You can't see it, and it's you know, I don't know, it's probably got 80% permeability and it's a moisture barrier. And so if that's a concern, I'm all in favor of that. But I just paint it for the sake of changing the color.
Wants to make a motion?
I will make a motion for this is an appeal.
It's a repeal of a staff denial, an appeal, not a repeal.
I'll make a motion to uphold staff denial to paint the brick.
Would you support staff, approving a more, water barrier, moisture barriers?
I mean, I would, I can't speak for the.
Yeah, but it sounds like that's not the reason.
Just for clarification.
Yeah, an appropriate, clear, breathable barrier for historic masonry. Kind makes one, beak makes one.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to uphold the staff denial. The comment that staff has authority to approve an appropriate, clear, breathable barrier for historic masonry. Do I have a second to Fillmore's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Carol. I'll put the motion to a vote. Becky,
In favor.
Bill,
Okay, yeah, in favor.
Fillmore,
Yeah, in favor.
Carol.
Yeah, in favor.
The chair votes nay opposed. The motion passes 4-4 and 1 against. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Thank you, Daryl. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion passes.